Today on Doomed! The Ballad of Ricky Vaughn, aka Douglas Mackey. You might not be familiar with him by name, either name, really, unless you were a hardcore Twitter user like I was back in like the 2015, 2016 election campaign days. But today on the show, we will get into his story, his trial, his conviction, and dispel all the disinformation that's been going around on the right about what it is that he actually did. No, he's not convicted and going to jail for simply sharing memes. And joining me now, let me pull him up on the platform, on the feed, I should say. It is my absolute pleasure, as always, to welcome back to this show senior investigative reporter and spokesperson, for the Southern Poverty Law Center, Michael Edison Hayden. Michael, you are always welcome on this show, but more welcome right now on this episode than previous episodes. I don't know what I'm talking about. Welcome to the show.
Well, I'm a sporksperson now, which is kind of like I guess that's like half cutlery, half person. Right. Yeah, what's up, man? It's good to see you on this dark day when Jason Kessler has resigned from political activism, has taken himself out of political activism. This breaking news update I got from Hannah Gase like about 10 minutes before we got on the air. It's a really tough day for anybody who doesn't know. Jason Kessler is the dope who helped organize the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. He's a white supremacist, and he says that he only got one donor for his live stream, so he's going to wrap it up.
I gotta say, that's as someone who is always on the hey, join my Patreon, you drop a YouTube live chat, super chat, just become a Twitch Prime member. I gotta say, the fact that he could only muster up one is pretty pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, I got to retweet you here because you're hyping this now. So hold on one second. On Doomed.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. I'm just all right. So yeah, no, I mean, what's the word that they what's the word that they say in in crypto? Is got diamond hands and paper hands.
Right.
Yeah, he's a paper hand streamer, right? Like he just couldn't take the low low attendance. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. It was I believe December 13th when we were here, a nice Christmas themed episode. We had Lucian Wintrich on.
That was
me and Hannah.
Honestly, I think that might be my personal favorite. I've been doing this show since 2018. I gotta say that was personally my favorite episode ever.
Yeah, it was a great episode.
I think, if I recall, I don't think I ended up. I'm going to now because we're talking about it, but I don't think I ended up releasing it as a podcast because I just told everyone they have to watch the video. Like, they have to. Because it was, for people who missed it, and I will upload it as a podcast right after this episode goes up as a podcast, so you can follow along if you're just a strictly I refuse to listen to Matt and watch the video only podcast person. Michael and his coworker Hannah came on the show, and we were talking about the New York Republican Club Christmas party that they infiltrated, which that was my promotional my way of promoting them on the show to get people to come watch the show. But really, when I say infiltrated, I mean they used their real names to apply for press passes and were given them.
Right. That's that's true. Well, not press passes. We just bought tickets.
There you go. Right. Okay.
And and Lucian Wintrich seemed like he had imbibed something. For those who don't know, this guy is like a kind of a radical right figure who's had some ties to white nationalists. I don't even know what that means anymore. Ties to white nationalists. It used to mean, when I first started this, it used to mean something, but now it's just sort of like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is like one of the most prominent figures in the Republican Party. So like nothing means anything any fucking more. But
right. I mean, I really
yeah.
do feel like in the mainstream now, like you can whistle, the dog whistles as loud as you want. You can even say some openly white nationalist rhetoric, but until you're actually sig-hailing and displaying the swastika, you can pretty much get away with it all before that.
Yeah, Paul Gosar is like basically just shy of that anyway. I mean, he's really out there. Anyway.
Right. So you came on the show last time in December, and we were talking about that, and then those people you mentioned, part of the New York Republican Club, they were watching because we shared it on social media, and I guess they saw it, and they said they wanted to talk to us, like an impromptu quote unquote debate, I guess, and a few of them called in, and we had a 6-person, I think, at one point, discussion between you, me, Hannah, and then the New York Republican Club, even more like the vice president or something of the club was on there. That's right.
Yes,
it was incredible. It was an incredible episode.
And and since that time they're still very much like gaining a. So it's weird because like the Trump movement and the Republican Party feels like it's shrinking in some ways. It feels like it's getting more. It's almost like some end of days vibes with them, even though it keeps going, it keeps crawling along. And like, yes, the Republicans could win power in 2024, of course, so on a national stage that could happen. But when Trump was indicted and they had the counter protest, they went back to the well with Jack Posobiec and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I went down there and it was such a weird scene. And it was New York Young Republicans Club leading the way there. With Gavin Wax and Vish Burra, who is an aide to George Santos. George Santos got scared out off of the premises, and I mean, they're still in it. Like they're still getting closer to Trump. Like Trump just tweeted out a Daily Caller article written by the president of the New York Young Republicans Club, like today, or not tweeted out, put it on Truth Social. So they're like getting closer to the heart of things, but the things are getting smaller, if that makes sense. It was just like a very, very small group of people in front to see Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jack Posobiec. It felt like, 50, 60 people, a lot of them old. Some people look super weird. I took photographs of them for a story that we can share later, but yeah. They're still in it, man.
Right. I mean, I think that George Santos thing was a big boon to them in terms of a few of them now work for him, right? Like you said.
Well, he's a star. Like because this is like a weird, bizarro world that they've created for themselves. He's like a fucking star, man. And I don't know what they're gonna do when he gets destroyed in Nassau County, which is where is where my parents live in his district, and it's like, dude, I don't know how he's gonna. There's no way he can win. Like, I don't see any way he can win, and he's running for re-election, and there goes another one of their most famous people, I think.
All right. So we've touched on Jason Kessler retiring because he just doesn't have that poster mentality. Like I was telling you before the show, the dude clearly doesn't have it, because I see people on Twitch all the time in like their 6th hour of their stream, doing it up for a total of 2 concurrent viewers. So, that's dedication. That's the real deal. That's that punk rock mentality of playing your hardest no matter how many people are watching.
That's right, man.
He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And we've already reminisced now.
My realist articles are the ones that only get retweeted like 36 times. Those
hell yeah.
Those are the hard ones.
We've reminisced on the last time you came on this show, which everyone needs to go check out. Video, please. I urge you. The video is the best way to watch that episode at youtube.com/MattBinder. But I will put up as a podcast now that, just to make sure you all catch it for sure. And briefly, I will mention before we get into this episode that the hacker who hacked Matt Walsh. He apparently, and we should say that Wired reporter Del Cameron got permanently banned from Twitter for sharing his story on there because or sourcing his story from there, or whatever the reason they're going with for banning him, because it contains hacked materials. But anyway,
I saw that Andy No tweeted about it first, so I think he probably Musk probably reacted to No's.
I thought that first too, but then I saw Ian Miles Chong also tweet out last night about it, but he went even further than Andy No, and he snitch tagged to Musk.
Oh,
so
he's like the ultimate tattletale. Like he's like you're getting into upper tiers here. This is like one of the stars of the new Twitter.
Right.
You can't cross him.
So I just wanted to bring this up, though, because obviously it's newsworthy that Matt Walsh got hacked. But Del Cameron spoke to the hacker, and the hacker goes by the name Doomed.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, actually. Yeah, I didn't make that connection, yeah.
And I saw a few people on Twitter actually go, wait a minute, is Matt Binder the hacker? I'll come clean. I'm not cool enough to pull off what that hacker did. I am not the hacker. I'm not the hacker.
I hope I hope he gets the newsworthy, if the newsworthy stuff comes out. Like, I don't want him focusing on just like, hope he has a good sense for what he has in that material. That's the only thing I'd be worried about.
Yeah.
Is he just going to show that, like, that he signed up for Pornhub or whatever? I mean, like, I'd be much more interested in, the kind of stuff that Matt Walsh is talking about with potentially other extremists and things like that, people in the anti-trans movement. I'd be curious about that.
He didn't really get into any real details, because according to him, the hacker just did it because he was bored, and he didn't really pull anything that noteworthy because he wasn't looking for anything. Yeah. Apparently, the one thing detailed in it was like an email conversation he had with Steven Crowder. That was just the two of them discussing the state of cable news. I mean, yeah, just really, yeah. I mean, also, I'm going to assume that someone at a Matt Walsh type probably is, maybe if you go back like 10 years, maybe you'll find something. But I'm going to assume that someone in his position is a little careful about what he writes down over the past few years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes these guys, they just love to, like, bite into the fucking shit sandwich and just do some, you know what I mean? It depends on who they are, because, sometimes they also do things that people do things that they don't know is newsworthy to the rest of us. Like, for example, like the Stephen Miller emails, which I, reported on in November 2019. Miller is sharing links to white nationalist websites and is leaving clues sort of behind that he's reading American Renaissance. To him, that's like his life. That's like what he takes that stuff seriously. And, for him, it's not like, oh, I did something weird. It's very important. It's in the public interest, especially for people who are immigrants and people who are facing, the brunt of his racist policies in the Trump administration. That stuff matters, and he's unconscious of it. So I'm sure that, like, you could find Matt Walsh sharing maybe articles that are of interest to him that could reveal something. But then again, I guess he himself, like, what could be? It's like, I'm thinking about the Alex Jones text, for instance. It's like, what could Alex Jones share in there that would have been more newsworthy than someone sharing Alex Jones, if that makes sense, right? Like, he himself is an extremist, and, like, there's very few people who are as disgusting in the anti-trans movement as Matt Walsh. He's about as low as it gets, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's obsessed. I think it's beyond just like it's obsession at this point. He talks about trans issues, anti-trans stuff more at this point, more than I think Steven Crowder has ever dressed in drag for one of his dumb bits. I mean, and yes. That's a lot.
Well, I know this is not the topic of our show, but, like, I gotta ask, like, what is up with the trans issues consuming these people so much that it becomes to define their only like it goes everything for them. Is it purely a financial thing? Because I'm thinking of people like Jesse Singal, for instance, who had like a lot of windows to kind of like crawl out of over the course of the year and just kind of, let's do something else, man. Like, just do something else. You're capable of doing something else, I'm sure, right? And like just kept going back to the well over and over and over again. What is it about this particular issue? I'm just thinking aloud, like, what is it that just drives these guys to such an insane, like, frothing at the mouth obsession?
Right. I mean, I have no data or leaks, like email strategy or anything like that from high level conservatives in the movement. But just my opinion, I think they found an issue that's really palatable to the base, because if you think about it, at this point, everybody knows someone who's gay. Everyone knows someone who's, a gay or a lesbian, a family member, a friend, bisexual, right? And so it's really easy for even a conservative who isn't deep within the movement and like making a grift out of it to just go like, hey, wait a minute, I know someone who's gay and they're my friend and I like them. They're my kid and they're great. But with trans people, I feel like we're not there yet. A lot of people don't know a trans person because they are such a small overall make up such a small percentage of the population. And so it's really easy to like muster up this sort of anti-trans panic. And in turn, what they're also getting out of it, I think, is they're chipping away at some of the LGBT Q stuff too that isn't trans related.
So like social, it's a way into social victories that overlap that as well, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I think so. I think also my colleague Cassie Miller had a really good essay out about male supremacy and in the contemporary hard right movement, the sort of DeSantis Trump wing of this country. And I think it bleeds into that too. It's sort of a desire to kind of choke out anything that doesn't, reaffirm the patriarchal order, right? Like this sort of, they need that control to stay in place. And this, but with people like Jesse Singal, for instance, like what?
Him, I don't get. I think he's just obsessed. Like Matt Walsh, it goes beyond even. But again, Matt Walsh does it for the reason of the conservative grift. Yeah,
but he also has a lot. He says a lot of like anti-black,
right,
like racist comments as well, which Singal would not do. And he's just obsessed with the trans issue. It's crazy. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I haven't even covered Singal on this show because honestly, I should. I want to actually. I wouldn't even know who to talk to about it. I guess I gotta. I don't.
There was a good essay written. I'll get it. I don't remember who wrote it, but I can find out. It was in a very small publication, but it was really good. I thought it was really good.
All right, cool. Thank you. I'm gonna hold you to getting me that so I could have that the author on. Now we've had some chatter and banter about various topics of the day, a nice little current events chat. But now, let's get into the reason I have you on, and that is to talk about Ricky Vaughn, aka Douglas Mackey. Now, you've been on top of this. You were there, right, at the trial?
Yeah, I went. I was the only reporter who was there for jury selection. And at one point, one of the prosecutors walked up to me and goes, "You must be a masochist." And I was like, "Well, it's not totally far off." But yeah, I mean, I stayed for the whole thing. And the reason why I went to jury selection as well is because I was very curious. So I view the Mackey case as a kind of a history-making trial, even if the sentence ends up being relatively small. It's like for people like us, you and I, who were in this world, the other side of the meme wars, as the right would call it. And
we're the North in the meme wars. But you were gonna compare it to the Civil War.
Sure. And for who are watching things like disinfo campaigns, and these sort of things that looked like not organic with bots and all these things that were kind of new in social media. This war on social media that we watched kind of unfold. This is the one of the first attempts to really try to make to use the laws of society to try to stop whatever that was, or to put some kind of to put barriers around these actions in a real way. And it was almost impossible for me to imagine them picking a jury that wouldn't be completely tainted by this, because the opinions on politically charged disinformation are so strong, right? It's like, either you think that this is a free speech issue, and that people are being, persecuted for speaking up and speaking their mind of conservative values, whatever, or you believe disinformation is like the most dangerous thing in the world and it's leading to this global fascist takeover. We become so polarized. I wanted to see how they would go about finding a jury even. And the answer to that question is it was not easy. And they had very few people that they could find who didn't have some strong opinions either about the 2016 election and how it shook out, who weren't on Twitter at all, and didn't watch Tucker Carlson. I mean, there's a big laundry list of things, and they ultimately settled for quite a few people who are senior citizens.
Interesting. We'll get back. Let's get back to the trial. But first, for people who don't know who Ricky Vaughn is, we should say that Ricky Vaughn is the assumed name of one Douglas Mackey. He did not go by that name in his professional alt-right shitposting career. He was simply known as Ricky Vaughn, which is named after a fictional baseball player, right?
Yes, he was the Robert Silverman from Daily Beast, stories about Tim Pool, stuff like that. He corrected me. I was previously saying that he was the closer in Major League, but he was not a closer. He was a starting pitcher in Major League, and then he closed out a game in the last scene of the film, and he was the wild thing, the guy who threw really hard but didn't know where the ball was going. It was Charlie Sheen's character. He had black frame glasses like this, and basically people would see the Ricky Vaughn avatar on Twitter throughout 2016, and it was like Charlie Sheen's face from the film, but instead of a Cleveland Indians hat, they're the Guardians now, but instead of a Cleveland Indians hat, he was wearing a MAGA hat, and he drove massive amounts of traffic to Trump's messaging.
Right. I remember seeing that account all over the place, and sometimes the things I saw it get away with, that for sure at the time. I know things are different now under new Twitter owner Elon Musk's version of the platform, but things then I thought for sure would get him in trouble, and he seemingly continued on amassing a rather large following for an anonymous right-wing shitposting account. What ended up, because he did eventually get suspended from Twitter. Was it this that finally did it in for him, or did something else happen that after this for him? Do you remember?
As far as I can parse it out from the trial, he got suspended for something else, perhaps, and then came back. I think he was suspended at least 3 times in the final months of the campaign, if I recall correctly. And then he migrated to Gab. So I'm trying to remember if it was the second iteration of his account that did this, or if it was the original one. I believe it was a second iteration by that point. He was he was posting some pretty hardcore racist stuff, and the kind of rhetoric he was using is like straight out of the sort of Daily Stormer American Renaissance world, and repeatedly making dehumanizing comments about Black people. It was a big one for him, and he like that came out a lot during the trial. And yeah, you're right, he survived that pretty well for a long period of time, and there was a lot of chaos at that time. I mean, think about some of the people that were posting and the way they were posting too, right? This is like the golden era of Mike Cernovich, when he was much bigger than Jack Posobiec, right? Cernovich then was like, you know, I mean, there was a 60 Minutes special in like, I guess 2017, if you remember, about Cernovich. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big deal at that time.
He was that.
Like,
jeez.
Yeah, now he's a kind of a hapless, like, fool figure. But like at the time, he was considered a kind of a bad boy of Twitter. He was, he was stringing together a lot of like disinfo about Hillary being sick and all this stuff. Twitter was a bit Wild West in 2016 in some ways. Then came the post-Charlottesville era, where things started to kind of get narrower and more people got suspended. Then there was a second wave of that after January 6th. And actually that's the time where I feel like it was starting to find their footing. The owner who came after Jack did stuff like Twitter Circle, which I liked before it got destroyed.
I could never use that. The idea of public tweets that are just for your chosen few. I felt like even then that this is a privacy massacre waiting to happen.
You gotta post things that, like, the way to do it is to post things that you don't like. You don't have to. You don't want, like, imagine anything could go public. Is the way it was the right way to use it, and make it be stuff where you really don't care what kind of engagement it gets, and you just want your friends to see it, I guess. But I mean, we it was moving into, and then now we have the post, the post Musk era, where he's trying to bring the Wild West thing back, I think is the best way to look at it. Yeah.
Right. But we were talking a little bit before we went live here, about how that's exactly what Musk is trying to do, and that it's not going to work because the times are just different. Like even Trump gives off different vibes now. Like Trump isn't the, he wasn't that to us, but to his followers, he was like the hip meme lord, the emperor sun god or something they called him. Sure. Like they were having fun with it. But now it's like, they're really serious. Like he's just the one person who could stop the left. We got to vote Trump. They're not even like going fun with it anymore. Even like his most hardcore followers are sort of just like, even like he's got to tone down the focus on the 2020 election fraud stuff, because we got to just focus on the future right now. He's the guy to do it, but he's got to leave all that stuff behind. Like they're like completely different vibes now.
Yeah, completely different vibes. And also Musk is making a huge mistake by doing this, by like taking away our blue checks and stuff like that. Does he not understand that, like, he's like, that he's making, like, I'm Ricky Vaughn now. He's making me, like, do you know what I mean? We are the antagonists now. He's saying, like, he's trying to do this thing where it's sort of like, I'm bringing the whole situation back and I'm slanting the playing field, where it's like only these right-wing ass kissers that love me are going to have blue checks. And like, does he not realize that, like, all the reporters and things like that suddenly are going to have so much more, the implicit thing about Twitter was your opportunity to attack the blue checks, right? And so all these Ricky Vaughn shit poster, like, alt-right guys would just go around and just bully journalists and everyone else. And it's like, it's all the leftists with their dark Brandon vibes, and now journalists who don't care about getting suspended anymore because they could lose it just as easily with by posting their article the wrong way, as Del Cameron lost his account today, that are going to be a little bit, that's going to be the energy and excitement of the platform. It's all about it. The platform has always gravitated to the attacker, and it puts these guys in an even more stupid looking spotlight than they've been.
Right. I mean, I think there's a lot of other things too that removing the verification badges from all the actual celebrities and actors and musicians will do. But I think what you laid out was the perfect perspective from even like a Musk supporter's viewpoint. Like they're gonna what are they gonna do without the target on who to go after for being an evil blue check? Right. Now they got the target, right? And people, we should mention right now that we're talking right now, the night of April 19th. According to Musk, which usually you can't believe, he always misses his deadlines or just never even delivers. But today, in a vast contrast from earlier when he said the check marks to be removed, today the official Twitter accounts for verification actually said they would remove the legacy check marks on April 20th. So we're talking April 19th. That's tomorrow. I think it's gonna be a big hit on the platform for various reasons. But you laid out exactly how it's gonna affect the right wingers who loved going after the blue checks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. And we're gonna find out. I mean. And it also puts people it takes the people like Cernovich, Pazovic, like all the verified, extremists. That was always the issue before. It's like, why are these extremists verified? And that was a big fight back in the day when things were in the pre-Musk era. And now those guys, they have to choose between buying and getting a little geek tag to keep it going, or losing it, and that verified tag gave these guys the only credibility that they ever had, Right. So they lose a lot, right? It was the whole thing with people your Cernovich tier person is that he somehow, some way got a blue check at some point. And that made him look like a real person who should be listened to on the platform.
Right. I do think those guys who the right wingers who did have the verification will just pay for Twitter Blue to have it, because they probably view it as no different, because they don't mind buying clout. They've been doing it their whole careers.
Right. By followers.
But what will affect them, I think, is if, from what I'm hearing, the number of people planning to block all Twitter Blue subscribers is as large as I'm hearing, then they will eventually notice when all the people they want to actually attack and make fun of just outright have blocked them. They won't be happy about that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be really funny.
Either way, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's
but back to the important thing, though, about Ricky Vaughn, and let's get into his trial. But before we get into his trial, let's completely break down here what it is that he did online to get him on, first of all, put on trial. Because the right has been running with this narrative that Douglas Mackey, a.k.a. Ricky Vaughn, was just a meme poster. He was posting memes, man. Just posting some memes in 2016. And it's the first trial where this guy is convicted of posting memes. What overreach from the Department of Justice. This is an outrage, according to them. But what you actually find out when you look into this case, that their narrative is nowhere near true. Can you explain what actually it is that Ricky Vaughn, aka Douglas Mackey, did?
Sure. So what just in reference to what you're saying about this Tucker Carlson narrative that's kind of percolated or whatever, this is the first thing that I reported on that seemed to be, to me, that the right was more interested than the left. And it only seems to be it's been a sort of a long tail for the left and liberals to kind of get their mind around this. But they've been really activated on this trial since he was arrested. They're obsessed with it. And I think the reason why they're obsessed is because what Douglas Mackey did, which I'm going to mention now, sorry for the slow roll in, is something that they need really badly right now. Like, what he did was post to Twitter these images, memes, that were kind of crafted very finely to look like Hillary Clinton campaign materials, right down to the font, coloration, etc. And they urged people, supporters, to sort of beat the line, the voting line, and vote from home, and text Hillary as your vote to a short code. And the images, the first one centered around a Black woman, the idea being that it was African Americans for Hillary, African American women for Hillary, something of that nature. Probably that type of, they stole it from that type of, campaign material. And then the second one was a Latina woman, and it was the same thing in Spanish. And Mackey shared the first one, I guess in the afternoon of November 1st. And then about 7 hours later, around midnight, he shared the other one. And when I say that they need this type of thing, they may not need this specific type of disinformation, but what they're really concerned about is they have very slim margins, the Republicans. They need a constant culture war right now, because if you don't have people like revved up on Bud Light or whatever, the more popular policies are actually with Democrats, pretty significantly across the country, with the exception of some things here and there. And they need people revved up on Bud Light and on trans issues in general, and things that don't affect their material conditions at all, because they cannot like just roll in a national election anymore. This is not the Reagan era anymore. Their policies are not popular, and this sort of white majority double down that Trump did was not part of the grand plan to deal with the changing demographics of the country. And if they don't stop people from voting, right, they're going to lose every single election. And that's why you see everything everything is designed towards stopping people from voting. It's limit the amount of polling places, limit the amount of time that people can vote, stop mail-in voting, right? And this was another version of it, a type of volunteer activism that Douglas Mackey was engaging in to try to drive down the number of people voting who were women of color.
Right. Now, do we know how many people actually fell for this?
Well, I'll answer your question literally. No, we have no idea how many people fell for it. And it could be, in theory, that 0 people fell for it. I say because one of the biggest obstacles the prosecution had, and the right became obsessed with this, is they never called to the stand any person who said, yeah, I texted this short code and I thought I could vote. And, I was completely fooled by this and I lost my vote. What they did provide was a series of numbers that had come in from the short code provider, which suggested that like close to 5,000 people did text in that. Now, the right becomes obsessed with another part of this, which is that when the media picked up on this disinfo, it was blasted in Vox and a number of other news websites. I believe it was on CNN. It was they covered it on CNN. And after that happened, the number of people who texted into that number skyrocketed. So they're obsessed with that, suggesting that the media did this and a bunch of people came along and kind of texted in the Hillary thing just to try it or just to see what it would be like, right? They just wanted to know, what is this? What, how does this work? Just to, for shits and giggles. At least 100 people or around 100 people texted in the thing before the media had ever covered it. So did those people really think they were voting? Are all those people 4chan people who are just like getting off on their own joke? Is it like a masturbatory thing where it's sort of, I made this info. Oh, let's try it. I don't know. I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that the reason that Mackey's defense lost is because it doesn't even matter if anyone was fooled. It's a question of did he intend to fool people and try to trick them from voting? If I had to guess, I'd guess, very of the 5,000, very few of them really thought they were voting. But is it possible that some people thought this was a real Hillary Clinton campaign material? I think it is possible. I think all that really matters is what did Douglas Mackey think he was doing?
Right.
And he was part of a conspiracy that included other extremists who did this. And I think that he was really hoping that he was smarter than Black women and Latinas, and he would dupe them into wasting their vote. And I think that is the core of this case. That's what happened. And I was less convinced that people were fooled and more convinced that he wanted to fool them.
Right. What, how far did he take this? Like, was it just those images, or did he also set up the short code? Like, did he actually set it up?
So, Mackey says that he found them on 4chan. They also introduced evidence that he said, I can get anybody. So he definitely didn't make them. Or almost certainly didn't make them himself. He says in the direct messages that because there's a lot of evidence from direct message groups that he was in, and these things were wild, man. I've been in like a lot of direct message groups in my life. I've seen some dumb shit in them. Like, I've never seen anything that was like, this was like a workshop of Nazi elves, like building disinformation. It was just totally nuts. Like, they were just whittling away, like, and they would be like, we have this one, like, hold that back. Let this one run its course, and then we'll introduce this one. And then they would kind of hijack a hashtag or get a hashtag going so that this disinfo would appear at the top of people's feeds. It was actually, in some ways, kind of impressive and also a little scary how much time these guys had to try to get Trump elected. Yeah, so where was I at the start of this? You had just asked.
Oh, I asked how far did he take it? Like, you
Yes.
explained that you don't think he made the images,
So
but
he
also
says-
did he actually, like, where did they get the short code from? Did someone actually set it up for
Yes.
this purpose?
So, yes. Okay, Brain. Okay. So he says, I found it on 4chan. And in his defense, he said, not only did I find it on 4chan, it was a split-second decision of just find it, post it, right? I was just posting everything, and then I saw this, and I was like, I just posted it. And there was a split second, I didn't even think about it, and now here I am on trial. In the direct message group, the evidence from the direct message groups, he also brags that, like, I'm so big on Twitter now, I've become so powerful that I have all these people who are just ready to Photoshop, who know how to do Photoshop and create things for me, essentially, in so many words. When he shared these things, there were a number of them on 4chan. We don't know. We've seen evidence, for instance, during the Crone leaks, which I think we covered on here before, you and I. We've seen evidence of extremists manipulating 4chan's anonymity in order to do certain things, right? Like, we've seen, like, where Weave is on one end, posts something, and then someone's retrieving it on the other end in the case of Macron leaks to post it, right? Where you can't prove the coordination because of 4chan's anonymity. All we know is that he was pulling these things from 4chan. Who was putting them there? Was he conscious of it? I have no idea. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just looking for it. But there were a lot of images like this being made at the same time. And what the prosecution established is that Mackey knew that women of color were critical for Hillary Clinton to win the election, that he was relatively obsessed with that fact, that he was obsessed with not wanting people of color to vote, women of color in particular, women to vote. He did not like the fact that this happened. It was an irritant for him that such people had a voice in our democracy, and that he went in and he found these particular images. And rather than it being a split-second decision, he was looking through a number of different disinfo, chose those, and tried to hook people at this particular time. And he did it 7 hours apart. So those are the two sides. He claims, I just found this on 4chan and I posted it. They say, well, this is a guy who brags about people making things. 4chan is a little bit, hard to track, so to speak. We know that we've established his motive to stop these particular people from voting. He gets these particular images, and these are the ones that he shares.
Right. One follow-up there. I think I asked, I don't remember.
The short code.
The short code, yes.
So I'm a little, based on the trial, I'm a little bit gray on where they came up with this particular short code. But the short code was registered by a company that kind of where their business is short codes, right? Apparently in the short code business, I didn't know such a thing exists, but you're kind of working, you have your customers and they need a short code, and it's like text 3745 to like whatever for your Doomed promos. If you want to see, right, whatever.
I was going to say, do not text that short code for Doomed anything.
We're going to get busted for hijacking a short code.
Or you could accidentally sign up for some sort of sexting line. I have no idea.
So I don't know how they chose this particular short code, but they chose it. And the company that got it, that had it, a series of calls were made when people started to find the disinfo. People in the Hillary Clinton campaign were really alarmed because they're like, holy shit, people are going to vote like this way. They're going to vote. Like they just saw it spreading and they're like, this is bad, dude. Like, what do we do? And like a whole bunch of calls were made that finally made it to the company that has that short code. And this guy's like, wait a second, this is our short code. And I believe that that's when he got a hold of it and started to track by number how many people had used the short code that they had hijacked. And this is a company that might create short codes for like a grocery store, right? So it happened to be that this, I believe they established, and I have to go to that guy's testimony, but I believe they established that this particular short code was dormant at the time that they hijacked it. So when you would text it in, you would not get back a like something that says thank you for signing up for Whole Foods or something, like, you know what I mean? It would be something else.
Right. So it seems like what really was the nail in the coffin for Douglas Mackey was that not only did he post this stuff, but there was the private messages of him talking about this stuff as if it was way more than just him sharing a meme that he thought was funny. There was some sort of strategy behind him posting this stuff according to his private messages.
His private messages and also his public-facing messages, I think, were actually, in some ways even more damning, because they kept having to ask him on the stand, like, do you believe this? So it was interesting to see, because there's like the sort of the Daily Stormer ideology, the neo-Nazi Daily Stormer ideology, was on trial. And it's not even an ideology. It's just a perversion of thinking. You know, at Daily Stormer, you start with this base way of thinking that Jewish people are there to manipulate whites, and sort of shape society, you know, to suit themselves. That Black people are predisposed to be gullible and stupid, and that the same thing is true of basically any non-white immigrant. And because Doug Mackey had appeared to internalize these things and sort of admitted to internalizing these beliefs, it looked very bad when they asked him. It's like, hey, it looks like you tweeted here that all Black people are gullible. Did you believe that? I did at the time, right? I believed it at the time. I no longer believe it. So It's like, you really believe that Black people are gullible? Yes, I did at the time. I don't believe it anymore. Well, if you believe that Black people were gullible, why wouldn't you be, why would you be surprised if they believe this disinformation that suggested they could vote in this way? Because I didn't think anyone would believe that, which is his answer. I thought it was so stupid. I thought it was a shit post. And then I'd be like, okay, can we show the next one? It's like, women are children with the right to vote is one of the more disgusting things he said about women. And it's like, well, if you thought women have the emotional and intellectual world of children, why would you think that they would, fall for that? Oh, because nobody who would fall for that? Who could fall for that? I said, you yourself are saying that women are not intelligent. They're not as intelligent as men. You don't think that women should be able to vote. So, why would we believe, if you don't think women are supposed to be able to vote, why would we think that you didn't want to stop them from voting? And that's where he really could not answer, because it's like, yeah, of course, when you internalize that propaganda, when you are like saturating yourself in that red pill space, and you start acting on it, the only places these things go are eventually crimes. I mean, it's like the next thing I'm covering is going to be the Robert Bowers trial, the Tree of Life massacre, which is they're really like, I'm doing a double dip on Gab stuff, and that is like, Douglas Mackey is not Robert Bowers, and not for a million years. I mean, Robert Bowers is about as scary a person as we cover in this, on the radical right. This guy is a stone cold killer. But when you internalize an ideology that is only about dehumanization and separating yourself from other people, and trying to hoard power and whatever selfishly in this sort of Daily Stormer way. When you do that, I mean, where can you actually take your activism? It's only going to take you to really fucking dark places. And in the case of Mackey, he is not there's no reason to believe he's a violent person or anything like that. But like, he really believed at that time that he was superior to women, superior to people of color, and he didn't want them to vote, and he acted on it.
Right. Yeah, because I'm just the reason I'm interested in this part of it is that we do see people joke online about elections. The common thing you see is someone just tweeting out the day after the election as the day to vote, as like a big joke or whatever. And then my favorite one that I actually thought was funny, because it's obviously so ridiculous that no one's going to believe it, is like, oh, I'm working at the post office, throwing away all the mail-in election ballots for a conservative. It's like, obviously, but like,
that's classic. That's a classic post. That's like,
right. But see, like, that's the difference. It seems like the way you're explaining it, like, like the post, like the post office guy throwing away conservative, but it's so over the top and ridiculous. And if you were to put the person who posted that on trial, it would be clear from their history that they were just bullshitting. Whereas Douglas Mackey, aka Ricky Vaughn, it all lines up that he actually, from his, like you said, his public posts even, he believed that the people he was targeting would fall for this at the time.
Yes, yeah. And what you're getting at, like, this is why I find this case so profound, and why, you know, I'm gonna follow it right to the sentencing and everything. Like, the right has a point when they say that, like, there are people who have done this to Trump supporters. They do have a point, and the most compelling, one of the more compelling things that came from the defense is when they brought out this Asian American comedian who had, like, a post by her who was trying to trick some Trump supporters, like, hey, where's her crime? Now, to be clear, if she was arrested and tried for this, you know, she could be, right? And the fact that she committed a crime in that way does not mean that he didn't commit a crime, right? So we don't even know if she would ever get charged. It's just to sort of raise this muddy the waters and suggest this is ideological. Right-wing people have repeatedly said that he's on trial for being a conservative or being a MAGA person, whatever. And there are some compelling, I'm trying to see things through their eyes, and I do think there's some compelling, yeah, I mean, like, you're right. Like, this is about his ideology in some ways. But the part that they are not honest about, when this is people like Glenn Greenwald and stuff like that, who kind of just cover this from the meme, you know, you see Greenwald just like, covers the memes, and like, you know, whatever his new show that he does, he's so whiny. And like, what they don't get to in this whole, like, prosecuting the ideology part of it is that the ideology itself it's inextricably linked to the crime here. It establishes the motive in a very clear way. And it's like, I was very open-minded to the possibility that Mackey would be innocent. And he doesn't have a record other than this. And I'm no fan of the you know, I have my share of criticisms of the criminal justice, you know, of American justice, okay, system, right? We got a lot of bad stuff that's happening here. And you know, I'm not spiking the football that this guy is gonna, you know, like, I wish we had lived in a much saner society from top to bottom, you know. And I view Mackey in some ways, I don't want to make him out to be a victim in some ways, but, like, look at this Trump shit. Look at how many lives have been ruined with this.
Right. He's another guy who is going down for Trump, who 100%. Honestly doesn't give two shits about him.
Yeah, for this fucking completely corrupt movement, right? Like, this completely, utterly bankrupt, morally, whatever. But at its core, when they say the ideology is on trial, understand that the ideology is also linked to criminality here. You believe that white people, and white men in particular, should own all the power in the United States and control it. And I want to be on that side of the wall. And that wall doesn't exist. And so we're going to build the wall in any way, fucking shape or form. We're going to build the society that you know, this is the future that liberals want. This is the future that we want. We want these people not to vote because they're fucking up our shit. Trump should win by 80%, but he's not. So we got to fucking make it that way. And they don't get into that. They don't talk about, you see Jaron Beatty and these guys, and it's really exhausting because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it because Jaron Beatty, I'm sure, believes many of the things that Mackey believed at that time.
Right. Yeah, it was just so interesting to see how this was being portrayed on the right as this meme thing when there is, and you're absolutely right about the ideology plays a part in it because, you know, put someone else up there who they claim is on the other side and made an election interference joke or whatever.
Sure.
And you'll look at their content and you probably won't find the ideology that makes it appear or cement the idea that they actually believed that people would fall for it. Whereas Douglas Mackey, his idea about black people, his ideas about women equal those election short code advertisements he put out that play into the idea that this guy really thought he was going to trick these targeted groups of people.
Right. And the one thing that also separates it is just the quality of the disinfo, right? They say memes. I mean, there's a meme. I mean, I guess it's a meme. It looks, it looked like Hillary Clinton campaign materials, and it was designed to look like it was designed to trick people. It was designed to trick people.
Like if he wanted to make a meme, he could have made something really over the top and like obviously comedic and ridiculous, but he didn't.
Well, they had this, and now I don't know if you remember this one, because I had forgotten a bit about it. I was working at ABC News during the election, and I was not covering the kind of internet swamp as closely. And I remember you were doing like was it a comedy site at that time? I can't remember.
Cafe was a political comedy site. Yep.
Yeah. That's what you're doing back then.
What a move from a political comedy site to being the podcast for a former New York attorney general. Amazing.
What was the name of the fake pundit that Felix Biederman did?
Carl Diggler.
Oh, Carl Diggler. Okay. Yeah, that was Cafe, right? Okay, so it just looked real. And this is not like, they had honed it. There was a campaign. This is the reason I brought it up. Do you remember this Draft Our Daughters thing? So I didn't.
Oh my God, I don't remember that. Maybe if I saw it, it would ring a bell.
So the way the prosecution kind of laid this out in the trial, and it was very compelling to see, is that these guys were workshopping this disinfo, and they were getting better at it, and they were trying different things. So they were doing this thing where they were kind of like getting photoshops of celebrities in MAGA hats that the celebrities eventually had to disavow, and they were kind of testing how they could get it trending and sort of testing how they could stagger it in such a way that it would continue to manipulate the news cycle. They were kind of like tinkering with it. So there'd be like a picture of Justin Bieber with a MAGA hat, and then it would kind of get viral, and people would be like that. And people are like, "Oh, that's not real." This is the beginning of them calling us tattletales. And like they're in the DMs doing that. And then they get to this next stage where it's this kind of ebb and flow between the Twitter DMs and 4chan. And this Draft Our Daughters meme comes up, and it's these really well-crafted Hillary Clinton ad copies that have like pictures of like female soldiers. And the idea is says like, like her grandfather died for her country. Now it's time for her to die for her country. Draft Our Daughters, like Hillary Clinton.
Jeez.
With this idea that it's like female empowerment.
Right.
These ads were like female empowerment, but that would call attention to Hillary Clinton's foreign policy, which turned a lot of people, including me, off, right? I mean, she's a hawk. And she, like they would be these, like this finely crafted disinfo that, looked real. And this was the next step from the MAGA hat celebrities, right? They were kind of getting that. And it's like, how do we get Draft Our Daughters trending? And then people would find it and be like, what the hell is this? These are not real Hillary Clinton ads. And then they graduated to this short code and the voting thing. And the idea being that they were doing it and it was within the bounds of what is free speech, and everything was whatever. You may not like it, but they were doing it. And then they crossed a line because they tried to eliminate somebody's right, a right that they were given, by our government.
Right. Yeah, I mean, What was the jury's? Did you get a sense of how they were? I mean, obviously we know, being that he was convicted, they felt he was guilty. But what was their sort of being there in the court house? What was their what was your
Well,
what were you getting out of it?
well, the jury didn't talk to us, and I wanted to ask them questions about it because deliberations for this trial went on for as long as the trial itself. It went on for like 4 days, and the trial was done in 4 days. And it was an emotional roller coaster, I'm sure, for Mackey. I'll get into the composition of the jury in a second, but after the first day, we go and we're waiting, and then as time goes on, he's you can see him starting to feel upbeat for like the first 2 days of deliberation, because what are they doing in there? Like, they must be headed towards a mistrial. Then at the end of the day, they come back and say, hey, we haven't figured anything out yet, and the judge goes back and gives them a half Allen charge, which is when you tell a jury to go back and kind of figure, look, you're obligated to figure it out, so just go figure it out. I'm not in any rush to tell you call this a mistrial. They go back, and then the end of the next day, they come back and they're like, we just cannot reach a verdict right now. And she goes, eventually to the full Allen charge, where she's basically like, a lot of resources went into this trial. A lot of money went into his defense. A lot of money. The government put together a lot of time to put together this thing. Both sides put together a lot of work to get here. What did she say? There's something like, there's no reason to believe that any other jury is going to be, for a future version of this trial, is going to be any smarter than you, have any more ability to figure out whether this person is innocent or guilty. And then she sends him back again. And then another day goes by, and Mackey's like upbeat nature. He actually said hi to me, or waved to me. And
he knew who you were.
Oh yeah, I used to chat with him on Gab. Yeah. You could see that he went from like, this is going to be a mistrial, I'm good to go. By the last day, him starting to feel like he started to be a little bit further away from the court. And his parents were kind of, started to thin out. It was just his father by the end. And he looked nervous. I didn't see him sit down once for the last day. He was just pacing in the back of the thing. There's a lot of strain. This is like, you thought you had it in hand. You got the mistrial. It was a huge win for the defense. And but I felt, and I was telling the other reporters this, and they thought, well, this is going to be a mistrial. They kept saying it's a mistrial. And I said, I don't think so. I think they're going to, I think it's like one person or two people. And I think they're chipping away at them. And it could be people who don't understand what Disinfo is, right? They don't understand what Twitter is. They don't understand what happened here. Or they can't imagine it's a crime. And it just broke down on the last day. And, that was it for Mackey. As for the composition of this jury, it was very diverse. But most interestingly, despite the fact that it was held in Brooklyn, there were no Black people on it. So, that's a big.
I mean, probably in terms of any idea that there would be a bias on the jury based on this guy's previous post. Maybe it's ridiculous you have to do it, but maybe that was the right move, because they got a guilty verdict, and they can't claim there was some sort of bias because there were Black people on the jury.
Yeah, well, on one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, I almost wanted a Black person there to be like, excuse me, this guy shared this disinfo to trick Black people. He's saying that Black people are predisposed to have an 85 IQ, and force them to look at a Black person, right? While they're telling them that that's not a crime, right? While taking away the rights to vote of someone who might fall for that is not a crime. But yeah, I mean, it was a diverse composition of people. But did not include Black people. And
that is pretty incredible that they couldn't find a single Black person in Brooklyn. Yeah,
in Brooklyn.
Amazing.
In Brooklyn. And
You were there for jury selection.
Yeah.
I'm assuming black people came in, right?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I seem to recall a couple of they lost a few people because there were a few people who were really aggressively trying to get out of jury duty from jump, who were like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And I recall a couple of the black people that were there just not wanting to be in trial. And then others got weeded out probably by the defense. I remember I strained in and listened to the conversations about getting the jurors, and Frisch, who was Mackey's attorney, you could hear him saying something to the like, well, he's just got rid of 3, because they're pairing off people on each side, and he's just got rid of 3 white men. He's showing a bias against something to the effect of showing a bias against white men. He really wanted to get white men on that jury because his best chance to get a mistrial probably came from a white guy who felt sympathetic to Mackey, and might even be hiding their power levels, might even be, not admitting to watching Tucker.
Incredible. Yeah, this whole thing is so ridiculous, honestly, that that they're claiming, based on everything we know. So this is also an important part of it. What are we looking at here? I know that Mackey could possibly get 10 years, but I can't envision, like, with everything you said about he's got no priors, no record, that they're going to throw the book at him on this case for 10 years.
I think it's unlikely to him to get 10. I think she has the option to give him 0. I think he's going to get something in between that on the lower side. If I had to guess, I would say
he's going to get a sentence in line with if he was at the Capitol building on January 6th.
Yeah, something like that probably. Here are the things that are going against him. She's a former prosecutor, Judge Donnelly, so she's definitely thinking like, hey, I like to get a sentence here. And secondarily, she's an Obama appointed judge. I don't know what kind of anything is in there in her diet of media and things like that, what she thinks about the case. And then there's the question of there's this kind of a moral question here. It's like, my criticism of the criminal justice system aside for a second, it's like, are we put black people in prison for like, a bag of marijuana for like long periods of time? Like what is the sentence for a guy who has all this wealth and privilege, and who tries to stop black people from voting? Like what does the system mean? So all those factors are kind of going to be in play. I'm going to, if I had to make a guess here, I'd say 2-3 years would probably be where it is. It could be even less than that, and it could be as many as 5 or 6. I mean, it really depends on the judge. Here's what I'm going to say about Mackey. Again, I don't want to portray him as as like a good guy or anything, because this is like one of the most notorious cyber Nazis in the of the era.
Right.
Once Luke O'Brien published his story IDing him, he genuinely did disappear. He really did. I mean, it didn't take this arrest for him to stop posting. He just disappeared. And what we found out in trial is that he went down to Florida. I spoke to him on the phone for about an hour after he got ID'd, and he said, my parents want to send me to rehab for like internet addiction, something along those lines. In the trial, they said he made the decision to go, but he went into some sort of intensive therapy program. Again, there's a lot of privilege here, right? Not everybody gets a chance to do that, but he goes down to Florida and he does that, and he continues to see a therapist according to what was testified at trial. Again, I did a little post on my newsletter about what it means to be out of the movement or in the movement. And I am not convinced that he's out. But I do have to say that this is not a guy who seems to me like he's trying to hurt people online right now, and hasn't been for some time. And that would weigh pretty heavily on me if he got full 10 years. And I'm not saying that like, again, I don't want to be like, whatever, like I sound like I'm being sympathetic to him or something. What he did is horrible. And anybody who knows my work knows that I have no like corner for these people. I've been in a lot of shit. I've had death threats at me on my family. I've had the fucking FBI call me about someone wanting to assassinate me. This is like, I'm very much in it. I would feel, I would receive the news that this guy's getting 10 years with a pretty heavy heart,
Right. I mean, I think it's completely legit to, believe this guy did wrong, but also want the punishment to actually fit the crime.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like it's also, like I said, these guys, I view so many of them in different ways. I feel like they're all in some ways, they're bullies. They're all bullies. They're all horrific bullies. And you have to be able to stand back and see the bully as being also a victim of some kind. They're a victim of bigger bullies, right? And the Trump campaign and all these extremists and all these rich right-wing goblins, right, that are funding extremism in this country. Some of them are from abroad, by the way, like that's real. Those people are monsters, and the lives that they've ruined with this stuff, they go beyond, like, if you like, one of my favorite metaphors for this, or my favorite, symbols for this, is Pizzagate, right? Because you have all these people like James Alefantis' life completely upended. The people who worked at his restaurant are still getting trauma therapy because of the guy who came in with the gun. But the man who went in that day, the guy who went in there and fired that gun that day, he lost 4 years of his life in prison, right? Because he believed this Pizzagate shit. And like, he's bad, right? He's bad. He almost killed people because of this Pizzagate stuff. But he believed this disinfo. And where did the disinfo come from, right?
Right.
We know it came from Jack Posobiec, from Mike Cernovich. It came from a whole bunch of extremists on Twitter and Reddit, and then who pushed it from above them. It's a whole cycle of people whose lives are completely broken on this internet stuff. And quite frankly, it makes me sick. Like, it makes me really sick to think about.
Right. No, absolutely.
Not to make a downer on Doomed. I mean, it is called Doomed.
Oh no, this is all about, this is how it is.
Real talk.
let me one thing you said that caught me, and I didn't ask you about it. What you said, Douglas Mackey came from, you said privilege. I mean, obviously, but he came from money too. What was he doing? What is his background in terms of, is he a rich guy? Like, is it?
Well, he went to Middlebury, and his father is like a lobbyist.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
I mean, yeah, his father's like a lobbyist in I think mobile technology industry or something like that, and he could have done almost anything. And what he chose to do instead was this. He just became addicted to being a white nationalist shit poster, or at least a shit poster who appealed to white nationalists. Whether he believed in creating a separate ethno state, I don't know in that moment. But he was a hero to many white nationalists, and they loved him. And he got addicted to it. And one really compelling piece of prosecutorial, evidence or whatever, there is his roommate, who he lived with for years. This dude lived with this guy for years and didn't know he was Ricky Vaughn. And so this guy was just like, hey, we're out of orange juice or whatever for years. And he said he was in his room all the time, like on the computer. And if you're living with somebody for years and you're in a band, you're going to know this guy's in a band. If this guy's got to try to be an aspiring rapper, you're going to know he's an aspiring rapper. If he's doing a podcast that is where he shows his face, like or a live stream like Doomed, you're going to know about it if you're a roommate. But this dude did not feel comfortable with who he was. He knew he was doing something fucked up, right? He knew that he was, he knew it was like his darkest self was being shown online, and he didn't want people to know about it.
Right. This is, I feel we're gonna. This is obviously like a story, not the the specifics of the case, but the basics of anonymous troll or shit poster or even anonymous political operative gets outed and quickly crawls into a hole trying to hide is like a tale as old as time, and I think we'll see many more cases like this. This is not Douglas Mackey won't be the last guy to face this.
Furthermore, we talked about this, like why I said I feel like this is so important to the right? Like this is so important to these people. They were obsessed with the Douglas Mackey case, and I said they need it because their margins are so small. They need to fucking rig the vote because they don't have the numbers. They don't have the people. They're going to be in a pseudonymous internet posting and anonymous internet posting was so critical to Trump in 2016 in his victory. They're in trouble, man. Like that force that they had, that ability to shift the conversation with their will from behind these sock accounts and different things. They don't have that anymore. And it's going to be real interesting whether it's Trump or DeSantis to see them, because people got to show their faces, and they got to show their faces behind really bigoted policies. And if you come out in broad day and say that you want adults to be forbidden from transitioning, right? If you want to ban transitioning for adults, you are asking for a lot of shit from people. Because I will tell you, if you come around here and you tell me that that's what you believe, I'm paying attention to you now, right? I'm going to report on you now. Just as like the first time I ever heard it was from Michael Knowles, right? On of all things Newsweek's podcast. That's a long story. That's a story for a different time. But like when I heard that, I was like, no fucking way, man. No fucking way. We're not talking about like, you're not talking about the ethics of like when people get hormones as teenagers. No, you're talking about like adults making decisions. No fucking way, man. Don't tell me that's not extreme. Right. So when I hear stuff like that, it's going to be interesting to see who puts their name to some of these extreme policies that they're going to need to get their base riled up at this point.
Right. Now, Michael, before we wrap it up here, last time you came on this show, we had a surprise callers from the New York City Young Republicans Club to have a debate. And I am happy to say that we have another surprise calling into the show. I believe it's Douglas Mackey from prison calling in to talk with... No, I'm joking. But we do have a surprise. I was not expecting this person to be on the line. But let's see. Hold on. Oh, wait. I messed up. Hold on. Let me put you on the same call as Michael. Hold on. I got to fix this. 1 second. Hold on. Okay, hold on. You're back. Hold on. Let me fix this. I messed up. One second.
I need to know who this like surprise guest is. I feel like this is like
1 second.
Well, it shows like This Is Your Life or whatever. Like
I messed up. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Let's see. This should work. Hold on, they're waiting. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Hello.
Get some headphones on, Hannah.
Oh yeah, I can't. You're kind of low. You're kind of low though.
You're low. We hear you. I do hear you.
Okay. How's that?
Much better.
Yeah, that's much.
Okay. All right. Now
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, for some reason, the speaker is coming out of my computer, but it's the microphone in my headphones. I don't know.
This is like when Hannah shows up. This is like family. This is like a family reunion of sorts. Just over like I feel like my sister is here.
For people who don't know, this is Hannah Geis of Southern Poverty Law Center as well, and she joined us last time when when Michael was here to debate those New York City Young Republicans, and it was one of my favorite episodes. Like I said, great to have you back on as well, Hannah.
Thank you. I forgot I was on Skype, and I was just sending harassing messages in the chat mostly. So, yeah. That's what I was doing for the past 30 minutes.
Oh, you were in the chat. Oh, I saw that last message where you said you wanted to get in, but I didn't realize you were in there for a while. What would you? What would you like to say? What would you like to talk about? Are you here to defend those Hillary Clinton election?
No, I mean it's just that they're coming after the meme makers, and if they come after the meme makers, like what are they going to do next? They'll come after Meme World. Remember Meme World people?
Oh, yeah. Meme World is Carpe Donktum's thing. That was in the Alex Jones text.
Yeah, and that's just not living up to standards.
What you remember from the Alex Jones text? What is his thing? It's like Meme World is not up. It's like just not where it needs to be in terms of traffic. That's the line.
Yeah, Meme World is not where it needs to be in terms of traffic. And then what? He doesn't respond.
Yeah, he basically goes Alex Jones. Okay, I'll just explain it real quick for people. This is Hannah and I are in like 9 levels of brain poisoning and stupidity at this point, but like Carpe Donktum, who I referred to recently in another podcast is known oaf Logan Cook. Like that's who he is. He's just this oaf who makes visual memes. Had a website called Meme World where he was supposed to like try to monetize his shitty pro-Trump content, and Alex Jones in all his business genius decided to kind of back this project and tries to fund him and whatever else, and he comes to him after a couple months of getting paid $6,000 a month, and the checks are kind of starting to dry up a little bit. They're not coming from Jones anymore. And Logan Cook goes to him kind of hat in hand and says something to the effect of, look, I know Meme World isn't where it needs to be in terms of traffic. And then Jones kind of cuts him off.
But it's amazing if you look at like archived versions of the site, it's just complete shit. Like the way it's designed is shit. You just click through and it's like, this is stuff that was clearly meant to be shared on social media, because when you actually go to the website, it's just like, I'm clicking on this video that has very little description. I don't even know what it is. And then I'm just watching it. And it's like some dumb thing where it's like either terrible and violent or just idiotic.
Right.
And
the content, this is the sort of the downslide of their content. They couldn't quite kind of evolve past 4chan memes, I think, is the thing. We're still seeing the same Wojaks. It's the same shit now for like, it's kind of stopped in 2018.
And the weirdest part is like these are like, it's easy to say like, oh, these are grown men sharing memes, but like you have to really think about this. The people on Twitter who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, cat turd, for example, these guys are sharing memes that are literally made by 14-year-olds on 4chan. Like their source, their inspiration are, incel gamer shitheads on 4chan. Like literally, and I'm not all gamers. Just don't want the Fortnite crew coming after me. I play Fortnite too with my son. I'm talking about the real fucking losers.
yes, yeah. The heated gaming moment crew. If remember that sort of mini meme. Yeah.
Right. Like these are grown men and women who are literally drawing their inspiration from little shitty photoshops that teens are making on 4chan. And I'm not downplaying 4chan. Obviously, there's a lot of real white nationalists, white supremacists, straight up Nazis on 4chan.
No, you can downplay 4chan and make fun of it. Like, I think it's probably healthy.
Right, yeah. But there's also a lot of fucking kids on there who are just like bored sitting home in middle of nowhere USA or middle of nowhere Sweden, Norway, Spain, Portugal, literally just anywhere where they have a computer connection and just have nothing to do. And they're just fucking around making these stupid, shitty memes to be edgelords. And they're putting it on 4chan, and people 30, 40 years older than them are posting it as like legit stuff on social media. It's ridiculous.
Kind of like going to 4chan during their breaks from porn and gaming. Like that's basically, that's what it is, right? I think we need to cover, just quickly since Hannah's here, we need to cover some important news on the extremism beat for anybody who's here, which is Jason Kessler is retired from activism.
Allegedly.
You had mentioned it earlier, but Hannah's the one who's breaking that story, right?
She broke that. She
broke
it by finding the post.
I don't want to. Listen, you have no. Listen, I broke a big story today by just finding an update hidden on a Microsoft page that they like a support page. Microsoft
that's what is, baby.
So really, sometimes all you gotta do. Microsoft's advertising platform is dropping Twitter. Because they don't, because they don't want to pay the ridiculous enterprise, the new API
Musk is
fees.
So dumb, dude. He's it's a miracle that he's this dumb, because if he were a smarter guy, we could be in a lot of shit right now. Jason Kessler's out. And then the other thing that's happening is I really think that America First, Nick Fuentes, which is something we've talked about. I think we did a show here. I know we did a show here because they made propaganda off of it. They had a clip of me kind of complimenting Nick Fuentes as a good speaker or something for like 3 seconds, and they've turned that cranked up some music in the background, like
if they want to do that again, I will say the same thing. Like, I think he's a good and entertaining speaker, and that's why people watch him. That's not that controversial.
But I do think that his America First thing is not doing great anymore with the Ali Alexander stuff. I really don't think he's going to be doing pretty well for a while now. I think this is the last blow. There was a lot of stuff about Nick and sex and sexuality coming up. We don't need to go into all of it, but this Ali Alexander thing, I don't see how he. I think there's a firm ceiling now, and it's kind of pushing down on.
We didn't mention Ali Alexander on this episode. We had a whole intro talking about current events and what's going on.
That's I've heard. Well, then I can just say that I'm so glad that Will reported that, because those are rumors that I have heard now going back a couple of years about Ali Alexander, and I'm not like, I don't know what's true, what's not. I don't know what statements he's made. I know he apologized for some things. He's saying other things are not true. I don't want to get into it. All I know is that he and many other people that surround themselves with this guy were obsessed with fucking pedophilia. And they're also obsessed with presenting LGBTQ people as dangerous and predatory. And this is not a good scandal for any of these people. And it is more, the Democrats are perfectly capable of fucking things up. They always are. But everything we've talked about here today, the Ricky Vaughn trial, Ali Alexander, the fact that the people are dropping off and quitting the movement, it does not look good for these guys. Democrats can totally mess it up. We've got Biden is 80. What is going to be 80? What at the time he runs? But boy, they're a mess right now. Jeb is a mess.
Yeah, they're not good.
Jeb is a mess.
Yeah, we were talking about Twitter earlier and Ricky Vaughn and how much Twitter is involved in all this, and now that we bring up Ali Alexander, I mean, this is a guy who we should mention. It's just to not give let old Twitter off the hook as we talk about how terrible and frankly it is. Musk Twitter is. Ali Alexander was like consulting Jack Dorsey.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was, man. He absolutely was.
Like, Jack Dorsey would go to Ali Alexander for, like, I don't know what, but Dorsey followed him and frequently interacted with him and, like, would ask him his opinion on things as if it mattered.
But whatever. Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say, I mean, he's just one of these guys, and there are a couple of them in the right that I think really have this ability to just kind of cozy up almost to anyone in like almost like a kind of like snake, like slithering way where they just sort of show up and you're like, why are you here? And he's definitely one of them because he's just sort of been everywhere.
Yeah.
Trying to think of someone that Ali hasn't spent time with.
That's a very important part of this. He's like Jack Posobiec is also a kind of an understudy of Roger Stone, right? He's like a mentored by Stone in some ways. Even though Stone created Stop the Steal, it was Ali Alexander in advance of January 6th who took out an LLC in Alabama regarding that. But yeah, he kind of touched everybody, and I think one thing I want to say, Matt, in reference to him, Jack Dorsey consulting with him, whatever may be going on in relation to his personal life, the fact that he was, I had written about it before because the fact that Jack Dorsey was getting advice from Ali Alexander was scandalous regardless of what he was doing in his personal life. It doesn't matter. The guy is objectively a scam artist and a complete completely corrupt person who readily works with extremists and to produce an effect that damages society. And Jack Dorsey apparently made the decision not to suspend Nick Fuentes originally from Ali Alexander. He made the decision not to suspend, according to Ali Alexander, now Dorsey should say anything, not to suspend Jack Posobiec. I think Ali Alexander said recently, some people flagged it to me. And if you think about that, Jack Posobiec, who has no discernible credentials as anything, who poses as a journalist, who we all said, wait a minute, wasn't this the 1488 guy? Who pretended to be a journalist, who did Pizzagate. Had he been suspended for violating terms of service, which he violated, I don't know how many times, hundreds and hundreds of times, I'm sure. Had he been suspended, he would not be in the position he is now, which is like, in Turning Point USA, kind of connected to so many people in the Republican Party. And if there's anything good about all this, is now everybody in the Republican Party is connected, just like so many people on the right are connected to Ali Alexander. They're all, now all these politicians are connected to Jack Posobiec, which when his fall, finally finishes, we'll always have that record, I guess.
Are we? I feel like I'm. That's. I mean, it could happen, but I feel like he's gone this long. I mean, Bumble Jack was able to get through that scandal, Well,
I don't know.
I think it's already happening. I think it's already happened.
I will say,
so big that he's there.
I will say I miss out on a lot of Jack Posobiec stuff because he's had me blocked for so long that I haven't been able to really monitor. And usually I'm able to get around it with certain accounts, but Jack Posobiec, I mean, I can still get around it, but he tweets so much that I just can't keep.
You can also get it on Telegram too, which is like usually I kind of keep abreast of Noah and Posobiec on Telegram with the rest of the extremists.
I'm surprised Musk isn't buddy with Posobiec yet. Honestly,
would you be buddy with him? And it's like,
I mean, Musk is buddy with Ian Miles Chung. That guy.
Has anyone figured out what's going on there? So weird.
It's very weird. That guy. He's literally been constantly fanboying with a QAnon dude. This guy's name is This guy always tweets out COVID stuff, and Musk is always in his mentions. and this guy is an old school like QAnon influencer. People have definitely seen his shit because Musk is always replying to it, and Musk knows that when he replies to someone, it pushes their stuff into people's feed. Yeah. Where's this guy? Give me a second.
Well, it's the one thing I will say about Jack is
Kenny Koa the Great.
Kenny Koa the Great. This guy's off my radar.
Guy's got close to 400,000 Twitter followers. He's been banned from Twitter under the old Twitter because he was a QAnon guy. He came back under Musk, and Musk is constantly replying to his shit.
No, you sound fine.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay.
Yep. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thing with Jack is like, I mean, so I was at CPAC in March, and it was, I mean, he was a speaker. He was there. I passed by him at one point, and I didn't say anything to him because I didn't have a press pass, so I was a little worried that like if I started like running around asking people questions, like they would have more of a reason to kick me out. But we walked by each other. He did like some weird double take, and like then both of us just went our own way. But that conference was just so low energy. I think I probably have at least like 40 or 50 like photos on my phone of just empty chairs, and that's basically this guy's height, right?
Yeah.
Is going to this like fucking conference where it's empty chairs for nearly all of it, and even Trump's speech, there were rows of empty chairs in the back. So I don't know. I think that's kind of cause to be cautiously optimistic.
I agree with you, and I agree with you about Jack being like I think like he's a very empty 2 million Twitter followers right now. Like he's kind of his energy, like Jack was like what made Jack successful, other than likely a lot of bots and stuff like that, based upon research others have done, is the fact that he was, he was always getting underneath people's skin, right? Like he was kind of like springing out all these influence campaigns and things like that. I don't see him being able to do that anymore. He's been exposed too many times. Everybody knows who he is. So that energy he had before of kind of showing these things, that's the thing, is like everybody knows who these guys are. The element of surprise is totally gone. That's why I think in some ways the Dark Brandon meme has been like one of the more effectively subversive political memes I've seen in a while, right? Like in some ways, it's a very like, it represents the kind of energy that you used to get from the right, almost in some ways, where they kind of say where people were saying something that annoyed people and got under their skin and didn't check out or make sense, and they couldn't stop them from saying it, right? They don't have the capacity to do that in the way they used to, and it's going to happen. I think you're going to see this on display very soon, and it's going to come during the Republican primary. You're going to see their inability to kind of get this stuff going the way they used to.
Well, it's just Twitter isn't the same. It's not the same as it was in 2016. It will never be the same no matter how much they try, even though they're all back. Like, Anglin is back. I mean, I guess Ali is now back.
Was back.
But, like, was back. Like, it's just not the same. It's never going to be the same because they just don't have that same energy from Trump, and the platform just isn't the same as it used to be.
Honestly, the content that I find does the best on Twitter now, just speaking from personal experience from my own content, is my coverage of Elon Musk ruining Twitter. Like that seems to be what Twitter is for now. Talking about 100%. And that to me, like, this has zero, what I'm about to say has zero to do with the right wingers coming back. Like, people are like, oh, I'm leaving because it's becoming a shithole and misinformation and ever. I mean, honestly, from a very personal standpoint, that sort of garbage filling my feed is my heaven. I love this shit. Like give me that content, baby. But I'm sure you guys sort of feel the same too, based on your beats. But I do feel like I being that I'm on Twitter so much and have been for so long, I see the tides turning, not based on any of that shit, just people are, it's losing its relevance just naturally. People are not going there as often. People are not using it the same way. Other platforms are taking over. And I have been saying to myself more and more that I got to fucking sit down, determine what the next platforms I'm going to spend time on are going to be, and fucking get that shit started before it's too late. And I'm left with a pointless Twitter account that I built up, and there's no one there anymore.
Yeah, that's why I started a newsletter, which I can hype before I get off of this. But I was just looking for a place to keep reaching people if this whole thing goes underwater. Like, I feel like we're starting to see water sinking out, like as we speak. You know, if there is an optimistic take here, it would be that Twitter kind of keeps a little shell of what was nice about it as it falls apart. Like a couple of us who I think I love the cat making that cameo. Like a couple of us maybe like just stick around and it gets a little bit like maybe our engagement goes down, but we just keep doing the same things and having fun as we get old. As this place, as Musk gets bored with it and abandons it, maybe that would be a fun thing, and until we get hacked and because of whatever else is happening and all our DMs are leaked. But whatever else, I do think you are right, Matt, that like if I wanted to go out there and get like 400 likes right now, the easiest way for me to do it is just to post something about Elon Musk being a dumb fuck. Like it could be the lowest effort content I have. I can get some numbers off of something like that. And I think that is the most damning thing about how,
like when Trump was arraigned, that shit would have been huge on old Twitter.
Oh,
I was barely getting a couple hundred likes on Twitter for tweets about that stuff. It's completely a changed platform.
It's mostly people who are aggrieved about Musk being there. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're doing shit like suppressing links. Like they claim that like linking, I think it was like the New York Times or something. New York Times reporter pointed this out, but like basically, if you post a link to something, like Twitter tries to bury it. Like,
yes.
And it's just like this frantic, like they're on this boat and there are like these holes like popping in like the boat.
They don't want you to leave. Like that's his brilliant business decision. He doesn't want people to leave the site. Oh wow! So we've now is Matt here because we've just like kind of hijacked Doom now. It's just like our show.
With the rocks.
I'm right here. I'm right here. You don't see me?
No, I see.
No, your camera's off.
Your camera. Oh, there you go.
Oh, no, that's weird. Whoa, that must have been a Skype issue because I didn't lose me on the feed. Okay, cool.
All right, I was going to say, it's like, this is our
15 hours and then see what happens.
Yeah, go ahead. Hell, my audience would love you two to continue without me. I'm sure it's this.
Oh my God, yeah. Well,
you guys would be the perfect you guys would be the perfect sub-hosts. It's the same content.
It's the continuation. Then it's the continuation of our work. Our calls.
It's like hour 6 or something. Did you see this Telegram channel with 40 followers?
Yeah, we want to stream until there's just one person on there, like Jason Kessler's thing. Just me and Hannah at the very end, just talking to one guy who's probably asleep.
That's probably Jason Kessler.
Yeah, I unfortunately I do have to probably go now. It's a little bit late, but I do want to say that I think you're right, Matt. I think that like that's the most damning thing. The fact that the only thing people are doing, it seems like, when they go on Twitter now, is just logging on to be pissed off that it is the way it is, right? So you're just like logging on to be like, oh, remember when the site was good? So if you just like go out there and say like Elon Musk is a piece of shit, like if you do that like that's all people really want, because they're logging on for is like, I don't know, it's like when you're mad about like a relationship that broke up or whatever, you're like checking out your ex or whatever. I don't know. It's like, it's not, people are not going onto Twitter because they like Twitter anymore. They're going to Twitter because they want to look back at the place that they used to have. So that's the
I
only
disagree
content
with
that people
that.
want.
I disagree with that. That's
Part of
why
it. I
I
think it's
signed up
part of
for
it.
queer organizations. I'm paying $1,000 to label myself as an organization. Hannah Gays LLC. If anyone else wants in on it, you got to pay part of that $1,000 plus 25.
I mean, the thing that was cool, like back in the day, is like it's like, wow, you could post something and like, damn, like Trent Reznor saw my post, like
right.
You know what I mean, like there'd be like that feeling that like you're all in it kind of together, and like somebody interesting might come across you or retweet
right.
you or something. Trent Reznor never retweeted me, but.
I got into a pitching contest with Neera Tanden that got covered by the New York Times.
That is true. Yes, you did.
All right, Mike.
Yeah. Anyway,
Michael and Hannah, we should continue this discussion another day, but we're hitting the 2-hour mark now, and I gotta actually start wrapping up the episode for the podcast. Can you guys do me a favor? And usually I would go on for longer, but I know people are gonna want me to take some calls. And I'm afraid that's going to go on for too long as well. So I need to try to work that in somehow.
You need to also go to bed.
Feel free right now to let everybody know where they can find you online. And if you want to promote something upcoming, please do that too.
Well, I'm still on Twitter for now. That's at Michael E. Hayden, MichaelEHayden. And I have a newsletter, which is It's Gonna Be a Long Night. .com. That's ITSGONNABEALONG night spelled correctly.com. And on that note, you'll get all my my articles there. And I have one coming up about Microchip, which we didn't get into here, but he's a character from that era, and I'm going to tell you what I know about him.
There we go.
I muted myself because our giant. It's a little hard to explain, but we have a litter robot and it just decided to go off. So if you hear weird noises behind me, that's what that is. Thanks, Kat. I am on Twitter at Hannah Gays, Gais is my last name. That's how you spell it. And then I also have a newsletter called Posts from Underground. So yeah, I'm also on Mastodon at Hannah Gays, the Journa host server, but I don't really know how to direct people to that, and I don't really use it all that much.
There you go. Right?
I'm also on Gab. I don't know.
I like
check out Hannah on Gab, everybody. Go to Gab.
I opened the door on Mastodon and I looked around and it was just like people were walking sideways, so they're crawling the walls, and I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know. I don't know what this is. I don't know. Yeah. I went into Post and then I felt like I walked into a nursing home. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to do other than Twitter, unfortunately.
Well, Michael, Hannah, quickly. I mean, Michael already has been on the show 100 times, my favorite guest. But Hannah, you've maneuvered your way right into that favorite guest category too. We got to do this again. We should just do a show with just like no real topic in mind to spend like 45 minutes on, and then just shoot the shit on what's going on in the world for a good 2 hours, like we did for these last 30 minutes or whatever.
You should come with us to the New York Young Republicans Club.
I would love to. We should do that.
Dinner in December, part 4.
I would love to do that.
Thing.
I would. Keep me informed. Keep me informed.
Just walk around streaming.
Let's do it.
People.
All right.
I have another middle name. I can buy tickets under that. We got that covered.
I think we got to go directly with like our SPLC emails this time, and just like we didn't use like our SPLC email. I think we got to do our work emails and be like, we are going. Anyway, we could do a whole nother podcast.
We will.
I was about to start talking about Project Veritas and what's happened to that. But
well, let's hold that for the next one. Yeah,
that still existed. That still existed last time we talked.
Michael, Hannah, talk to you guys again real soon. Always a pleasure. Have a great night.
Always a pleasure, dude. Take it easy.
Have a good one.
I'll talk to you later, Hannah. Bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. We're going to go to the second half of the show. I'm going to do the promos in a second. I just got to deal with something that's happening here in the background. And the kids and all. So just give me a second. I'm gonna do the second half intro music. I will take calls, do the promos. So just give me a second. And I will be with you. Give me like, let's say 5 minutes. I'm going to keep the feed going. You'll hear the song. Give me about 5 minutes and talk to you soon. Today on
ecological collapse, corporate fascism, corporate journalism, police brutality, voter suppression, austerity economics, educate the masses, rampant homophobia,
We got our first caller. Hey, where you calling from?
What's up, Matt?
Hey,
You from Jamaica?
Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing, my friend? What are we going to talk about today? I don't think you are exactly what you claim you are. I would say you're a conservative. What makes you a liberal? I'm pro-Green New Deal. Are you? Yes, really? Absolutely. No, I have watched the show. I've seen you completely come out and get really mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for some of the things in the Green New Deal.
You mean like free college for black people?
I'm back. Sorry, folks. Sometimes being a daddy calls. All right, let me do the promos, and then I will do the and then I'll do the calls. I'll take calls. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Again, sorry I had to walk away for I don't know how long was I gone? 10, 15 minutes? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was great talking with Michael and Hannah. And to support this show, to make sure that there's more great episodes like that, be sure to go to patreon.com/MattBinder. You can support this show by literally just becoming a paying subscriber at a very low price of $5 a month is what I ask. You can give more, you can give less, but your support is very much appreciated. And let me thank the people who became patrons recently. Give me a second to pull you guys up. Really, the without the patrons, I can't keep doing the content at the level that I do it at. Let me think. I got a good number of new patrons since when's the last time we spoke? The 11th, the 12th, something like that, right? Let me just go back there. Chet Z, Emily, Thomas F, Tyre O, Manuel A, Chris M, and Wanda V. Thank you so much for your support at patreon.com/MattBinder. It's a big help. Really, it is. And I only ask people to become patrons, quite frankly, if they can afford to do so. So, if you have that spare money, or you have your usual, entertainment fund or whatever you like to spend money on and are looking for something, try patreon.com/MattBinder to support what I do. If you cannot afford to do so, please, by all means, do not. You can support this show by just telling your friends about it, sharing the YouTube links, the podcast links. That's a really big help too. You can also go to youtube.com/MattBinder and subscribe to the channel. You could drop a one-off payment, donation, whatever you want to call it, via the super chat. I will read all super chats now during the second half of the show. During the second half of the show, I should say. You could also go to twitch.tv/MattBinder and follow me there, where I simulcast the live stream. And if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, for no extra cost to you, if you just connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you can give away one free Twitch Prime subscription a month to your favorite creator. I'm telling you that because I hope it's me, but it doesn't have to be. Just use it so Amazon doesn't keep your extra money. You go to doomedcast.com for the podcast version of this show. Follow me at Matt Binder on Twitter, at Matt Binder on Mastodon. Search Matt Binder on any platform, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You'll find me there. And what else? Check out my other show, Scam Economy, at scameconomy.com. Check me out Thursdays on The Majority Report. Check me out Thursdays on Leftist Mafia. This weekend, an episode of one of Al Jazeera's programs I will be on. One of the reasons I didn't do a stream yesterday, Tuesday, April 18th, was because I recorded that interview with them. It's an in-studio interview about Twitter under Musk, as this week marks the 6-month anniversary of, or the coming week marks the 6-month anniversary of him taking over the company. I'll let you all know more about that very soon. And let's now go to the second half of the show, where I will take your calls, comments, questions, super chats, and more. For the freebie listeners, this is where I say, the freebie podcast listeners, because everyone on Patreon and everyone watching the live stream will get the second half of the show. But for you freebie podcast listeners, this is where I say to you, I will see you all next time on Doomed. And here I am. I'm not going anywhere. I just needed to record it in the way that gives it that easy cut for the podcast when I edit the show. Now let's take some calls. We're in the second half of the show. Let's do it. I'm taking the calls as they come in. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm Osama.
Oh,
I'm not
hey.
from Canada, whatever.
Hey, Osama, how you doing? Still doing it up on the East Coast of the United States of America?
Yeah, but soon I'll have a break. Like for, I'll go back to Pakistan for a month.
Ooh, interesting.
Get my sanity back.
Really? America's that bad?
I don't think America's that bad. I think the situation I'm in, I guess I wouldn't want to live in America, but because I don't have any transport, I don't have any.
Right.
Like I have some family here,
you've discussed this before on the show, right? Oh, can I bring up? You want me to bring up on the feed your video?
Yeah. That would be.
Yeah, you've discussed this on the show before. Yeah, the U.S. outside of like major cities, like obviously New York, and even not even all major cities. Like it's not like Los Angeles is known for their great public transit. Really, outside of like New York City, maybe. If you don't have a car.
I feel like the LA added something where it's like a public share, like a public ride sharing thing where you like they have employees, government employees. They basically do the Uber thing, but they're paid, so they can just work at their own pace, like as any government employee would, and the cost to you are also not as expensive as Uber and Lyft and stuff. So there's something, and they're trying to rebuild everything in California at least. But with like, I guess Arizona and Phoenix, Texas and Dallas and all, I don't know what's happening with them.
Right.
I don't know how they are.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to see about. So what did you want to call to talk about?
So
I'm sure you didn't want to call in just to talk about
yeah.
You're
I'm a big urban planning nerd, but I don't think we should talk that much about it. But I guess a few things. One was like before, like in 2020 and 2021, 2022, like the Republicans were getting more and more extreme, right? And they're still trying to pass some weird legislation everywhere. But do you feel like they're overextending a bit where it's like kind of hopeful because like what they're trying to do, their base isn't really buying, even like among the really loyal ones, like the ones who actually care. They don't care as much about whatever the leadership is doing, which is why they like keep losing. Because it's kind of giving me hope because like they lost the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, right? They lost that seat. They did whatever the hell they did in Tennessee, which made like two politicians who weren't that popular. Like now they're in the national attention and they're really good politicians. So they messed up there.
right.
And like everything they're doing kind of like seems like an overextension to where they're like starting to lose. So even with gerrymandered areas. So do you think, are you hopeful or do you like, what view do you have on that?
I don't know. I mean, it's you're asking specifically about what I think about what's going to happen with the gerrymandering.
More like what's happening with the Republicans. Like I know the elections are next year, like the big elections, but do you feel like they're overextension of like over eagerness? Because usually what like they sort of have pretended to be like, oh, we're not against trans people, we're just worried about them, and we're not against gay people, we're just worried about, like they always do that stuff, right? But now they're like showing their true face kind of, and they thought they had more power than they did, but now it's biting them, and like they're suffering because of it. Do you think electorally is that like true, or do you think like that's just being too hopeful?
I mean, they're not. I don't think they're facing any blowback in that way for gerrymandering in particular. I mean, there's other things.
more like
I'm sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding. It's
yeah.
it's
I'm
late.
talking about like they went all in on the like fascism, right? Like
Oh, right,
especially for trans people, where they're like,
right.
that's all their platform has, basically. And a lot of Republican voters are like, we don't care about that. So they're more like, so I feel like they overextended.
Actually, I don't think it's Republican voters that don't care about it. I think it's everybody.
I know independents don't. And I know that, of course, Democrats don't at all. But I
Like
don't think
Republican
independents.
primary voters care a lot about it. Republican general election voters don't, right?
Yeah. Like the thing they did with like Bud Light or whatever, and there was this old drunk guy who was like, he was throwing slurs, but he was still saying like, if you can find love in this world, it's fine. I'm not gonna stop drinking Bud Light. It's stupid. So stuff like that, you know.
Right.
To where their own base is like, this is like what pointless. Like, what are they doing? Like that sort of thing. Because like compared to like Italy, for example, where the fascists won, and like India as well, they like actually their party, the fascist or far right party, actually gauged them accurately to where that rhetoric sells. But and maybe the Republicans thought that it's time, like they have enough power to do that now, but they don't. Like that's my point. Like, are you hopeful for that? Like, or do you think it's like no, the Republicans will still like. Because even like presidentially, like they have Trump and DeSantis is just floundering. Like he's just taking, like he's basically in the background now. And Trump can win primaries, but he can't really win general. And I don't know if they can. Do you think they can take the House or again or the Senate in the next year?
I think they could. I mean.
Yeah, but and the like I know it's always a possibility. It's more like is the direction positive in that, or is that just being too hopeful? Like if they keep doing what they're doing right now, their chances get worse and worse versus getting better.
I mean, it's a good question. No, it really is. Guys, the hard part's the answer here.
Yes.
I don't know. It's hard to tell because, I mean, we could see how it's going for them already in the midterms that we've had already. It hasn't been good for Republicans, but but I think it's too far out right now to tell about 2024. It's good. I mean, let's put it this way: those issues will clearly still be losers.
Yeah,
I just can't tell how much of a loser issue it will be in terms of like them taking back the House. It's possible. It's possible. I mean, the Senate's going to be tough in 2024 too because the map doesn't the actual candidates up for re-election are they're a lot more Democrats than Republicans. So it's not like they're gonna gain in the Senate. It's just they gotta defend the seats. I don't know. I mean, it really also depends how the Democrats continue to rally their base. Are we gonna see centrist? Are we gonna see centrist Biden, or are we gonna get Dark Brandon? That's gonna be the question. You know.
Did you see his Ireland speech? Like the song he came up to and all the like background and everything.
Oh, the Dropkick Murphys one, where that was.
He was like a wrestler or something, like a wrestling entrance. And he's like, I'm not like I know they don't usually go anyways, but like I'm not going to the king's coronation or whatever. I'm just going to Ireland.
All right. I mean, it's so. Props to him for still just going to Ireland. I thought that was great.
At the same time, like it's normal to not go. Like Obama, I think didn't go.
No U.S. president in history has ever gone to a coronation. We fought a war for us to not go to the coronation.
But I guess that's not the funny part. The funny part is, while the coronation is going on, you're in Ireland. I don't think presidents have done that.
That was very funny. That is true. It's not like he just stayed home. He He went.
Yeah.
Oh, he went to the general area. He just didn't go there.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I don't put much faith in Democrats. Mostly, it's just how awful how awful are the Republicans towards where enough people come out to vote against them. Is usually how it goes in the U.S.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But other than that, like the it's I talk a bit. I don't think a lot of people care, but I still talk a bit about what's happening in my country. And right now, it's just like a comedy show. It's like they started the Supreme Court Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is somehow like I don't know why he wants elections early in like a province that one of the parties just abandoned. Like they just dissolved the parliaments, and they want elections early, but the National Assembly and like what the army wants is like just to wait it out and do all the elections together, which is usually the norm. And now they've just started ignoring the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said you'll have elections on the April 18th, just give them the funds, do everything to start the process. And they're like, no. And now they're saying May 14th. And they're like, oh, we're just going to ignore you. So they started ignoring the Supreme Court. And now the Supreme Court is kind of like trying to do political dealings and like sort of like political negotiations between parties for some reason. I don't know why. And a lot of people are speculating it's because the current Chief Justice is very corrupt, and if the new one comes, he's probably going to face like a lot of charges and stuff. But the other party, if they get power, they're like connected, so they might do something over there. It's like nothing's happening. It's like no rule. Like no one's actually ruling. It's just going in the wind. I don't know how many countries go through this because you can't go through every country and learn.
I gotta say, it sounds like we're all going through the same thing in slightly a different fashion. Like it's the same general story, just slightly different story. It's like the movies. Like the same story has been filmed over and over and over again with slight deviations and changes and things swapped out just to make it a little different, just to spice things up a little bit each time.
It would be fun if Biden was like, no, we're ignoring you. Like abortion's still allowed. Screw you. Like anywhere, we're going to stop anyone from doing anything about abortions. No state can stop it. No, like I don't know if he can do that, but it would be funny. Like ignore the Supreme Court. I think FDR threatened to ignore the Supreme Court, right, when he was doing the New Deal.
I don't recall. That's something I have to check. I can't say off the top of my head. Yeah.
I remember reading that. Like he was like, basically his own party didn't like him either, and he just steamrolled through everyone. Like, so he had 4 terms, right? Like they got like the 2-term thing because of FDR, right?
FDR had 3 terms. 3 terms. They stopped.
He died on his 4th term. Like when he got elected, he died on his 4th term.
He was denied because yeah.
But yeah, in the UK they also have like strikes going on, right? And the Tories are like, the Tories are basically done. Like I don't think they can come back. But Labour's just gonna win whenever the elections happen.
I honestly have not been paying too much attention to what's been happening with the UK election. I've been paying attention to what's going on over there in general. A lot of bad place to be a trans person. Let me tell you right now. But
hopeful thing is there's a lot of strikes happening. Like I think Canada, some of our workers are going on strike. The UK workers are going on strike. France isn't protesting for like a long time. It hasn't stopped. Like that whole raising the age of retirement thing. I think Germany is also going on strike. So a lot of the US isn't, but a lot of other places are.
Right.
But yeah,
you places like France and for example, strong labor movement. I wish we had something like that here. We did, but it's been.
Because there was an episode. Do you know Adam Conover probably, right?
Who?
The guy who like Adam Conover.
Sounds familiar.
Adam Ruins Everything. There was
right. Yes.
So now he's not under anyone, so he does like these podcast like things with different people. So he was with a very veteran organizer, and she basically said like, I think it's time for like militant unionism to come back with like where like the government will say it's illegal or whatever, like they did with the railway strike, right? Like you can't go on strike anymore. We just decided that you're going to take this deal. But like workers now need to like shun that and like start and be ready to face police and stuff like that, because I think that's the direction they're going. And the US, I don't know if there's an appetite for that. I do know that the Writers Guild is going on strike as well.
Oh yeah, I will say when it comes to the creative industries, there's a pretty strong labor movement here for that. I mean, look at the fucking entertainment industry. Look at film and television, even the theater. Everything's unionized. It runs the whole industry. I wish everything was like that. I mean, just look at how it's, and then look at the pro sports. Almost every sport, especially the team sports, it seems like football, baseball, hockey, you name it. They have a players union.
Yeah, VFX doesn't, because I guess like the tech pros and all that stuff. Like
that they gotta get on top of that. That's the next thing that's gotta
wrestling. Like wrestling,
of course, wrestling. Yes, of course. That's gonna always be a hard one to crack.
Independent contractors that can do.
That's always gonna be a hard one to crack, because it's a very weird industry. But absolutely,
like a cult of personality thing, like that's. But so with the Elon thing, like, do you think? I feel like if he doesn't sell, then Twitter won't have like a bang, like a very dramatic death. It'll just slowly die out.
Oh, it's always gone. Like I never really subscribed to the idea that it was gonna be like, oh, everything shuts down, everything's breaking. No.
Small breaking though, like every once in a while, I just like click on a tweet or something, and it's just loading and loading and loading. Like I just move on. I'm like, what?
Right, things are definitely breaking, but I mean. I use the example of MySpace. Like, people think like News Corp, I should say, Fox News' parent company. News Corp bought MySpace in 2005, and people, I guess, just because it's been so long, or they weren't even alive then. God, I'm so old. It died out right away because they screwed it up. I mean, it took about 3 years for like Facebook to come about and officially take over. I mean, and for MySpace to die. It wasn't like Facebook took over as number one and MySpace existed as like a secondary platform. It just died. It's gonna be a slow bleed. It might even have might even have some small wins throughout that time too. We'll see. I mean, it's looking bad. I think it's looking bad for him though. I really do.
Media's like okay, you have enough people, then you're probably functioning fine. But if you go a little bit below like some threshold, then it just starts to sink. Then people just start to like completely. But that's probably like 10,000 people or something. Like not that you don't need that many to even survive. But you won't make money. You'll be bleeding money at that if you just have 10,000. But if it crashes monumentally, then it would be Elon Musk's fault, because he shut down APIs, and now like weather channels can't report things, and like all these bots like that were harmless. Like there was this bot that just posted the picture of a rabbit every hour that can do it. So those things are gonna be like, okay, we can't update as much anymore, so we're just gonna try to do it periodically. But with weather channels, it's their job. They're not gonna just leave it. But with like those other things, like the bots that were just posting pictures of bunnies, that guy would be like, why am I doing this like manually now? I can just keep doing this on Facebook or whatever, and that's much bigger anyways, on Instagram. or I don't think.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't realize this either. Like, Twitter is actually technically even before Musk bought it. It often got shoehorned into this group, but it's not. It's technically not a big tech platform because it's not big enough. Even before Musk, like it has an outsized relevancy because of the specific types of users, celebrities, the media, journalists, and it gave it a much larger sort of platform than it really has. It's nowhere close to Facebook, obviously, but it's not even close to Instagram. It's nowhere close to TikTok, to YouTube. It is teeny tiny compared to those platforms. Yeah. It also is the least money making in terms of the people who are on those platforms, like the successful creators on those platforms. Twitter don't make shit for their creators. I could tell you that from experience.
It was weird in that all these like really important people were on there, like people who didn't even have Facebook accounts, but these world leaders that had that over there, and then the news orgs. Even it's not just an American thing. The news in Pakistan reported tweets. So like I don't know why people just decided that Twitter is going to be the thing that we just focus on, but they did.
I'll tell you why though, and it's funny because tomorrow he destroys that. It was the first platform to say, hey, Justin Bieber, hey, Taylor Swift, hey, Tom Cruise, whatever big celebrity, musician, artist, actor, actress, you name it. You come to this platform. You don't got to spend time arguing with people over who's the real you, that account labeled at official share isn't actually share. You don't have to do that because we are going to let our users know that we contacted you and identified that this is your real account and put this check mark next to it so nobody can impersonate you. Everyone will know that this check mark means you are the legit actor, actress, musician, artist, whatever you say you are. And that is why Twitter became so important, because outlets, news outlets, and media programs or whatever, if someone posted something on the Vin Diesel Facebook page, you didn't fucking know if it was Vin Diesel or one of his 50 fan pages. But if you saw someone post something on the Vin Diesel Twitter account with the verified check mark, you fucking knew that was Vin Diesel. And that is why Twitter blew up. Obviously, as time went on, the other platforms caught up with that, but it was too late. By that point, the celebrities were already like, I'm on Twitter. Everyone knows I'm here. This is where I'm talking about my fans. I'm here. He's going to ruin that. And that's just fucking hilarious, honestly, because that is what made Twitter Twitter.
Take the tweets and then post it on everything else. Like, so it got to the other platforms just by that, like, virtue of that. But Elon Musk can't even do that, right? Because supposedly he was going to do your for you page is only going to be like verified checkmark accounts on April 16th. But they're not. I don't see any verified. I only see people I'm following on the For You page now. Like there's some verified whatever, and other people's algorithms are worse than mine. But it was supposed to be all like verified, and that didn't happen. So I think even that he's not going to do properly tomorrow or whatever. Whenever he said he would.
We'll see. Well, I'm really interested to see how it works out. I'm really interested. I honestly don't think my account, is going to take much of a hit because I've luckily, I have a pretty large following, and I don't think anything that happens with my account in terms of like the interactions it gets or whatever, like the retweets and likes and the shares and the reach, I don't think any of it has to do with the blue check mark. I think it just legitimately has to do with my content.
But I think you might still have the blue check mark. Like that's my point. Like I don't know if Musk will actually do it.
I actually usually would not believe him if it was just him tweeting it. But then today, the official Twitter verified account tweeted it. And usually when they do that, usually when it comes to the official Twitter channel, it means someone else at Twitter who's probably more reliable than Musk obviously they're doing it at
Twitter
Musk's
is being
command, but
Yeah.
it's probably gonna. I would actually be surprised if it doesn't happen tomorrow. Not because of Musk's tweet that it was going to happen from last week. He said last week it was going to be 420, but I believe it because today the official Twitter verified account tweeted that it's going to happen tomorrow. That's why I believe it's probably going to happen tomorrow.
But Twitter is being run by like H1B foreign workers and like maybe some duct tape and like maybe even a cat on the side who's actually programming everything. So who knows? Like I think he fired like all the mod teams. So like people who just get like appeals, you can just keep appealing again and again until you just if you're banned, you can just keep appealing again and again until finally it works for no reason. Like that's how I got my account back when it was banned. And in every appeal, I didn't say anything relevant. All I said was like, "Unban me, you coward." You said there would be no censorship, and I just thought like whenever I was bored, I was like, "How can I insult Musk?" And then I just made that into an appeal.
Right.
But yes, I think I've taken enough time. Other people can talk. Okay, have a good one.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, let's take another call. Oh, here we go. The call's coming in now. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Forrest from California.
Hey, Forrest. How are you?
I'm good. I'm calling in from the trenches of the culture war. Just wanted to say that watching Elon Musk repeatedly shell his own position and that of his allies it's just been such an alpha brain, like next level, hardcore 3D chess move and just the beauty of his bombs has been just a sight to behold.
Yeah. It's been amazing. It's really it is. It's good content, that's for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, for sure. But and on a more serious note, so I just it's interesting to see. I feel like the right wing is kind of fracturing to some extent, because I think for a long time it's been very homogenous because there's only been like maybe 4 major interest groups within the right wing. So you've got rich people, frightened middle-class people, religious people, and then like rednecks who somehow came to the conclusion that they won the Civil War and are very confused that everyone else seems to disagree.
Right.
Yeah, so I think in the last decade or so, more groups have kind of infiltrated that, and I know from my experiences with the left wing, I can definitely say that the more competing groups that are competing for attention and resources, the less cohesive the movement's going to be. And I think the addition of like the QAnon kind of wing of the party and the like angry Nazi incel wing has created more division, and I just think that's good to see from my perspective.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and just also to tie into that, I think a lot of people are always complaining about all the infighting on the left, and I think a lot of people don't really do the analysis to realize that the left as an entity shouldn't exist. It's purely a product of like our weird political system in America where we're forced into 2 parties. But the left in its current incarnation is just this hodgepodge of like dozens of conflicting interest groups. Like, for instance, the communists, socialists, people who just care about Medicare for all, LGBTQ people. I'm not saying that these are all conflicting. I'm just saying they have a lot of overlap, but they're not the same group, and they have competing interests sometimes. And I think that drives a lot of the division.
Say that once more.
Just that a lot of the infighting on the left, I think, comes down to just the fact that we have we're such a wide umbrella with so many different like groups and like different factions and interest groups that are all competing for attention and resources on their specific set of issues. And even if there is a lot of overlap on certain issues, the areas where there isn't overlap can cause a lot of the division, I think. Well, not even necessarily that everyone disagrees with each other, but just that they prioritize different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in a sense, sure. Maybe I'm not following correctly. Can you? I hate to say it, I already asked you once. Let me really get in the mode here. Explain one more time. Let's do this.
Well, to give an example, so socialists kind of left people might prioritize Medicare for all, free college, Green New Deal, and they might agree with other issues that for other groups, such as let's say reparations. Like they probably agree with that, but it might not be as much of a priority for them. And then that creates sometimes conflict where like let's say a certain specific YouTubers might be like, oh, well, you're not prioritizing reparations as one of your main priorities, and therefore you're not being sufficiently left, or you're leaving Black people behind or something. And this is just an example I'm pulling out of my ass, obviously. But so I'm sorry if I am actually offending anyone. I'm just trying to give an example. But like that kind of dynamic where people are trying to forefront their priorities over other people's priorities, I think is what creates a lot of the division and arguments on the left.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happens. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. It's
I know it's difficult to analyze because there's also other things like people looking for clout and people chasing money and that kind of stuff too that kind of muddies those waters. And it's just something I've been thinking about recently.
Sure, I just think the issue is more like it's not so much like just prioritization, like, oh, I'm going to prioritize this. I also think it's just comes down to actual like beliefs. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's not like certain people might not be prioritizing something. It might just be they don't agree with it or believe in it.
Yeah, I get that too. That's also part of my point. Is just that we've cobbled together so many different groups and so many individuals that belong to very specific sets of groups and then have different opinions about different things. And like, we're not homogenous the way the right wing is what I'm saying. We don't have that level of like connected ideology where we've worked out a specific subset of ideas and we're just like doggedly going after those ideas. Like we are to some extent, like with Medicare for all or other things like that. But I think a lot of the more detail-oriented things get lost in argument.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It certainly does happen sometimes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would broadly say that that's the issue, but it definitely happens.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that's the only issue. I'm just saying it's an issue.
Sure. Right. Definitely.
And I was just connecting that to watching the evolution of the right as they're coalition starts to crack. I'm just saying that it's kind of the same thing that's happening there.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Because they're the like Marjorie Taylor Greene, QAnon crazy kind of people have very different, like they'll agree with the other factions on some stuff, like give all the money to the billionaires or whatever, but then they get lost in the weeds of like very minute issues, like I don't know, the like interpersonal politics, or everybody needs to be perfectly on board for Trump, like 100%, or you're like a bad person or a traitor or whatever. That's I'm just drawing that parallel. Was all.
No, I think it's I also don't know if that's the same. Again, I'm sure it's happening, but I think on the right, what we're seeing is not prioritization of certain issues, and they're fighting over that. I think it's literally them deciding what's best for business for themselves. Mm-hmm. It's strictly what is the most successful move I can make? Support this guy or support this guy? Issues or whatever aside, what's going to get me the most clout? What's going to get me the highest position? What's going to get me the most money?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I do think like what you're saying isn't like not happening. I just it is, I'm sure, and both, on the right and the left as well. But I just don't think it's again, maybe if you ask me another day, I'll have a clearer mind. But I don't know how much of a role that's playing, is what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. That's fair.
All right, cool. Always a pleasure for you to call in and to talk about it. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, folks. How many more calls? We got a bunch of people trying to call in. I'll take one, maybe two more calls, and then we're calling it a night. The first half went long, then I had that issue at home. But we did like a 2-hour first half of the show, so this is all bonus stuff. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Charlie from Washington. How you doing?
Hey, Charlie. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
What did it talk about?
I wanted to call in and thank you for sticking up for us throughout like the whole drama. You and the leftist mafia and the Majority Report, like you guys got a lot of flack for it, especially Alimi and Lance and Emma. Kind of got it.
You don't have. I mean, I personally didn't get any flack for it because I have the best audience that there is. Yeah. Seriously, I've gotten nothing but support, which I don't need either. But just saying that I honestly I have heard some of the other people have gotten some shit from who knows who. I have not really gotten anything worth mentioning that hasn't been support. You don't have to thank me because it's easy as possible. It didn't take me.
I didn't
have to bend over. I didn't have to do something out of my. This is the easiest thing in the world to do.
I'm thoroughly of the belief that you need to tell people when they're doing good because you only really hear from people when you're fucking up. And if
I never fuck up, so I don't hear people. I appreciate that. No, I know what you're saying. I'm being funny here. But I get what you're saying. I really appreciate it. Really, I do. But it's just it was an obvious, not even just choice, like the opinion, I should say, on the matter, but also obvious to say something, because of the fact that it was such a important issue to so many people who do read my work, watch my work, listen to my work. So, I do, my audience will not force my opinion to sway a certain way just by dangling their viewership over me. But I will talk about issues that speak to them, whether they like that opinion or not. And that's what I did here.
Well, yeah, but we still appreciate it, and for anybody who's wondering why this is an important thing to talk about, I wanted to, when you were reading off the super chats at the end of that episode, you got one. I think it was the first one, or like in the first set of them. There, if they asked you if it's okay to identify a woman as a birthing person, is it okay to call trans woman trans identifying male? Which, for those of you who don't know, trans identifying male, or TIMS as if you think they're clever, is what TERFs over there in the UK are using to call trans women men while pretending to be polite about it. That's
I didn't
language.
I didn't catch that, actually. I don't know if it was too late or I just didn't hear it.
Go watch the whole playback of the live chat.
I don't know if I'll be doing that. But I believe you. I believe you.
Things, but the whole like front half of the show, the trolls were just out in force. Like, you guys really piss people off with this whole thing, and they're just feasting off of this. Guys, stop giving them ammo. You know, I'd much rather talk about, like, if you're gonna go on a rant about trans people, do like that guy in Florida did and call us X-Men, because that was kind of cool, man. 90-year-old me was geeking out. You know, like, all right, cool, I'm a mutant. That sounds badass. Like, sign me up. You know?
Yeah.
Fucking unironically giving a villain speech, completely missing the point of all the queer coding and civil rights themes of the whole fucking thing. And he's like, no, these mutants are horrible people. Fucking goddamn, man. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But,
no,
yeah.
I mean, I honestly, like, I know other people got crap for it, but I didn't. And if I did, I probably would have maybe even gone in harder. But I mean, honestly, I really appreciate it. But it's really nothing in terms of what I did. It's nothing, because it doesn't. It's what I believe. And if it was a completely another issue where my audience, I had a different opinion than my audience, it'd be the same. It's just what I believe. But this is on this issue. It's very simple to me. Trans rights are human rights, and if you're someone who considers yourself to be a trans ally, like the person we were talking about over the past couple of weeks, who tweeted what they did, then you would have just A, not tweeted that, or even B, once you did tweet that, realize what it meant and what it meant to your supposed fan base that makes up a lot of trans people make up. And it's disappointing to see how they played out, I guess, in terms of where it came from. And again, like I originally stated, it doesn't matter their history in terms of what they said, but I do think it does matter a little bit in terms of their fan base expecting better. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think everyone is gonna. I don't know what's left to say about it, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Oh, before I go, I do kind of want to concede to you a little bit. When I brought up the Tennessee shooter last time, I thought they were going to still be talking about it, and they're kind of not. I think I've heard like one tweet about it. Like, remember that Dylan Mulvaney is the kind of person that is the same kind of person as the one who shot up a bunch of people or something like that. But like, that's been pretty much it. I think kicking 2 black people out of office in a blatantly racist move probably distracted from that a little bit. So, wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Maybe I should be. I don't know why I'm surprised.
I do think that they just don't. They just get bored. They're too. They're that meme. Honestly, everything's projection with them, obviously, and they're that meme that shows like the NPC getting like the issues of the day swapped out, because that's just how current events works anyway. People obviously care about different issues pertaining to what is in the news that day. But they literally are that meme where it's like they constantly can't. They just move on to whatever the next big culture war is in their own little universe, and they don't stick with anything. And they also, in the same sense, they also have a very bad ability to realize how to explain their own narratives to normal people. Like, they automatically talk about everything as if everyone is in their bubble. And by doing so, it makes them look, quite frankly, insane to anyone who's not, which is the majority of people. Like, I think we do a good job of, like, our some of the things we talk about are obviously very, very insidery. And I try to do this on every episode. Even for Scam Economy, I try to do this. But we talk about a lot of times very insidery. It's based on, very specific issues that pertain to very specific industries or events. And the important thing to do is that stuff could still be very interesting to people who aren't plugged in all the time. But you need to walk them through it and explain to them from the beginning. You can't just start with these inside jokes and memes. But that's what the right does all the time. It's just right away you're being bombarded by photos and photoshops that mean absolutely nothing to you if you're not, if this was a movie, if you weren't like 90 minutes into a movie that's 100 minutes long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I work with a shop full of them, and like, it's kind of, because I'm not out at work, because I don't need that. Like, yesterday, I think, in fact, one of my coworkers shared what I'm assuming is a fake video, because you should always assume it's fake until proven otherwise. But apparently, it's a trans lady attacking somebody with an axe, and it's really brutal and gory. Side note on that, like, he came in there like, oh, it made me sick. Here, look at this, and he shows it to somebody else who immediately looks at it after hearing that description. And I'm just sitting in the corner, being like, please don't show me that. I don't want to see that. That shit sticks. But the other guy looks at it. He goes, oh, that's crazy. And the first guy goes, yeah, well, of course, he's Griffin Kessler. Of course they're crazy. They think he could be a woman, blah, blah, blah. So I do get to hear a lot of those memes or those videos or whatever, like, viral moment. I just thought that one might stick around a lot longer than it did. But again, they got unexpectedly caught doing the racism thing. So, and I'm happy they're getting back into their office. There's no way they're not. So, but anyway, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that and thank you guys for that. Because like I said, it really is appreciated.
Oh, don't worry. I appreciate it. Let's put it that. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, folks. Let me read these super chats. If one more person calls in, I'll take a quick 2-minute call. There's not too many super chats. Kowalski with a super chat. Happy 420, Matt. Light one up on air right now. Straight edge, buddy. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Matt. It's Josh from California. How you doing?
Hey, Josh. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I just wanted to bring up really quickly. So FDR threatened to pack the courts. He threatened to expand the court to 20 or something if the Supreme Court didn't stop fucking around with him and blocking all the New Deal stuff. So that was the threat, which is what Biden should have done, to at least threaten to do to that's what they were talking about with expanding the court to 13 or whatever, because there's 13 circuit courts. So it would actually make sense, because each justice is supposed to oversee each justice on the Supreme Court is supposed to oversee a circuit court. So when they expanded to 13 circuit courts, they really should have expanded to 13 justices on the Supreme Court. And Biden should have threatened to do that if they kept passing all of this weird right-wing bullshit. But, you know, he's too much of an institutionalist and a coward to do that. So, but that was what FDR's big threat was to expand the court from 9. You know, it had been expanded a bunch of times before and shrunk a couple of times. They went from 9 to 7, back to 9. I think right after the Civil War, something like that. It might have been under Teddy Roosevelt. I don't remember the exact timeline. Other thing that came up, there are a bunch of strikes going on in the U.S. Find them, send them pizza, show up and help them out. There are the medieval times workers are all on strike.
Oh right, I should look into doing an episode on that. That's very.
Someone tried to run them over. Someone did run one of them over.
Really?
Yeah. So they were blocking the entrance. I think it's the one in LA or Anaheim. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they were sort of, you know, just walking in a circle, blocking the entrance to medieval times. And you know, it's all of the actors in the shows and the servers and whatever, and they're using scab labor, of course. But someone just decided, I need my stein of mead, so I'm gonna run over 2 people. And the one person got out of the car and just started like swinging at them, and the woman that stayed in the driver's seat basically ran over and through 2 people. So that was not very well covered, but you know, that's a great way to cross the picket line if you're a piece of shit. The LA County school district just settled, or they went on a 3-day strike. I think they just came back to the classroom. They haven't got a new deal yet, so they're gonna go back on strike next week or 2 weeks from now, unless a settlement's reached. And it's like the biggest teacher strike in history, because LA County is the biggest county in the US. There's a strike that I think just got settled at Rutgers. The Writers Guild is about to go on strike for the Writers Guild in Hollywood. You brought up entertainment. The Writers Guild's about to go on strike because they are not getting streaming payment at like a reasonable percentage. They went on. That was part of the strike in 2010, I think it was. I can't remember if it was 2010 or 2007. It might have been right before the economic collapse, but. So they got like partial payment for streaming rights back then, and now they want more because everything is much more streaming focused, and makes sense. They get pennies on the dollar compared to what they get if it's like a cable TV or network TV show. And that's coming up. The other strike, I think Michigan just declared an illegal strike for the University of Michigan grad students, like the state Supreme Court. So they might wildcat strike. Worth going out and supporting them if they do. Just like, it does not get well covered in the press. The miners in, Alabama, I think have been on strike for over a year. And that's like, I think they're either, I can't remember if it's coal or iron miners, but they've been on strike forever, and the company's just not bending. So I'm sure they could use support. And then the other strike that just started today is there's a nurses' strike in Oakland that's around the number of patients that they're being, like the number of beds that they're being assigned and standard of care and that kind of stuff. So the nurses union leads, and not just in Oakland, but all over the country, leads a lot of strikes, and they're someone to pay attention to because they do a lot of organizing for Medicare for All and that kind of stuff as well, because they sort of broadly support not for profit healthcare because they're the hospital administrators go after them first. them and the cleaning staff first when budget cuts need to happen. So there are a lot of strikes all over the U.S. and you have to, unfortunately, like I said, it's not very well covered. A New York Times just had a strike like a couple of months ago, right, for the writer's strike or something like that. So they're not very well covered, unfortunately. You have to sort of keep your eyes open, but they exist and they're very, they are happening all the time within the U.S. We just don't get the same coverage, and they're not sort of like the same level as like France, where in Paris, where there's garbage piling up in the streets and all that kind of stuff. But there are, I think one of the things that sort of happens within our media space is, because it's corporate media for the most part, is that they editorially choose not to cover those kinds of things, which is, I think, where a lot of the bias comes in. It's not necessarily, I mean, Fox News is one thing, but like MSNBC and CNN and ABC News and NBC News and CBS and whatever. Like my brother works as a producer for CBS and has to fight to get certain stories on the television. He's an editor and has to fight to get certain stories on TV with like his station manager. And that's like, that's where bias comes in, is like those kinds of editorial decisions. So it's just something to be aware of, and you have to really keep your eyes open. Right. The other thing that I wanted to talk about
really quick, because I gotta wrap it up.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, like, as far as like organizing goes, it's great that these guys in Tennessee got reinstated. They didn't win anything. Don't forget that, like, they're a minority party in a deeply red state, and it's great that they got reinstated, but it's not like a victory that they did, because they're not going to affect any change. And so you have to continue to, even though they're being proclaimed heroes in the press, you still got to send them support. You got to continue to organize. You got to get them help, get them more people, more reinforcements, because if you don't take back local government and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to do anything. So I just, like, it's really kind of frustrating to see all of this continuing, like, just liberal inaction, I guess, like symbolic victories that don't really mean anything in the grand scheme, touted as victories. And I do think that, like, where Forrest was right about sort of the big tent of the left is that liberals do tend to get very in their feelings and will stay home or change sides if they don't feel like their egos are being stroked. And I mean, I guess you could argue the same for leftists. Right-wingers fall in line, and I don't think QAnon people are going to stay home in 2024.
They actually, specifically QAnon people might.
If Trump's not the nominee, they'll stay home.
No, I think even if so, I think you greatly underestimate the conspiracy theorists and their beliefs that elections mean nothing because it's all rigged and a fraud. QAnon might be the bad example you're trying to make. Maybe the more straight up MAGA types will definitely come out, but the conspiracy theorists, you'd be surprised. They will stay home if they think it's not going to matter, which they do think it's not going to matter.
That could be fair. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of the conspiracy bullshit around elections being stolen no matter. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, either elections are stolen so it doesn't matter, or you can vote your way out of it and win.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. There's a lot of good information regarding different strikes and movements going on right now. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great night.
All right, folks. It's about 12:30. I'm gonna close up Skype. I think it's just getting a little too late. We're past hour 3 now. I try. I really try. Oh my God. Kowalski says, want to end on seeing cows. Sure, let's see the cows. Let's end it on the cows. But first, let me do this again. I did this last time. I thought we were gonna lose. I was gonna lose it. Let's say goodbye to. Let's say goodbye to the check mark. Leave the memories alone. Wait, let me. I'm waiting for Kowalski to call in. That's why I'm screwing around right now. Kowalski, call in. There we go. All right. If today is the day, then there it goes. All right, let's go back to. Let's finish up the. Kowalski left the field already. I messed up. Oh well, no big deal. Super chat from Renee. Not liking the new DLC mod skin, Dark Gritty. Oh, my hair? Yeah, my hair got a lot of comments because I cut my hair. You guys, I tell you guys all the time, maybe some of you are new. This isn't the hairstyle that I want to remain. Every couple of months, probably no more than maybe 3, maybe 4 times a year at most, I need to just cut it. Not even short. This is not short. This is short for me, but for most people, this is not short. I need to just refreshen it. My hair gets, split ends. It feels weird. I need to refreshen it, I feel. That's what I need to do. So then it grows nice. And for a good, 3 months, then I have, nice, perfect, long, messy hair. So every couple of months, for just a week, really, I gotta have slightly shorter than usual hair. Sorry, this isn't the hairstyle I like to keep, but it's what I need to do. Steven Chivon with a super chat. Poster to prison pipeline. I was talking about Ricky Vaughn earlier, right? Kowalski with that happy 420. I'm straight edge. C. Dejinmar with a super chat. Thanks for this. Give me some soda money. And let me see over here on Twitch. Ooh, got a few from Twitch. Hold on. Let me. Let's see. One less name. Resubscribe for 1 month at tier 1. Subscriber for 8 months. Wow. Thank you. Amuse Mob, resubscribe with Prime. Subscriber for 11 months. Here's to another 11 months, bro. Thanks for the great videos. Almost a year there, Amused Mob. Thank you so much. Well, oh my God. Serious business. Resubscribe for 1 month at tier 1. Subscriber for 17 months. My God. Thank you, Serious Business. 17 months. Christ. Dynamic Jab 13 gave out 1 community gift sub. Thank you. Not Even a Show hit me up with the raid earlier. Thank you so much, Not Even a Show. I really appreciate that. Keely, resubscribe with Prime. Subscriber for 11 months. 3 months. That's still awesome. Maybe you'll stick around for 11 months, but if not, thank you for 3 months. Corn Pop for Prez. Resubscribe with Prime. Subscriber for 11 months. Doomed, says Corn Pop. Robot Monkey Cat gave out 5 community gift subs. And then for their own account, resubscribed for 1 month at tier 1. Subscriber for 17 months as well. Robot Monkey Cat says, taking the opportunity to plug my movie-themed Substack, which is under the name Robot Cat. Currently working on my initial newsletter, which goes into what future ones will entail. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm yawning. I couldn't help it. Working on my initial newsletter, which goes into what future ones will entail, and should have it finished tonight. Robot Monkey Cat. I'm sorry, but the Substack is called Robot Cat. Thank you, Robot Monkey Cat. Let's. What else we got here? Once again, if you're not already and would like to consider it, patreon.com/Matt Binder. That's the best way to support this show, but there's other ways, and I mentioned them earlier: YouTube, Twitch, etc. Tell your friends about this. Tell your friends or fans if you got them about this show and this stream. And I wanted to Robot Monkey Cat mentioned the Substack. I'm probably going to be getting back active there. I'm not going to announce anything yet. But I'll let you all know something very shortly. And Rebel Without a Cause just resubscribed at Prime subscriber for 16 months. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebel Without a Cause. And who should I rate on Twitch? Really quick, let's figure this out. Who's on right now? Rotted Ranch. That's the first suggestion I got. Let me quickly check out their content. And if it's all good, then maybe we'll do that. Let's see. What do they talk about? What do they talk about? What kind of content? Let's do it. Let's do it. I believe you. I believe in you. Let's do it up. I'm going to rate Rotted Ranch. All right, folks. As always, thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. And tomorrow is another fun day. I'll see you all next time on Doomed.